Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this first weekend of the Body Electronics seminars. Deals with the health and the human mind, and it is quite an historic occasion here for the Sydney area to have Dr. John and Dr. Anita here with us to conduct this seminar, because it'll be the first time in Sydney, the Sydney area. It is also, the whole seminar, all 4 weekends, will be videoed and will be used as the official new videotapes to promote body electronics right through the world, and in connection and in cooperation with the Australian Institute of Body Electronics and the Body Electronics Institute of New Zealand. In order to carry on, to introduce Professor Dr. Sir John Whitman-Ray and Professor Dr. Anita Savatsky-Ray, I'll give you a bit of background of these wonderful beings. Professor Dr. Sir John Whitman-Ray, he has a Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics and Psychology. He has his naturopathic degree from the Arizona College of Naturopathic Medicine. He has his medical degree from the Medicina Alternativa in Sri Lanka. He's a doctor of acupuncture and a member of the Charter of Natural Health Practitioners in New Zealand. Professor Dr. Sir John Whitman-Ray has conducted seminars in over 220 major cities around the world, from the US, Canada, the UK, Hawaii, Cook Islands, India, Sri Lanka, Australia and New Zealand. He has been awarded fellowship from the World Association of Integrated Medicine and the Indian Foundation for the Development of Integrated Medicine. A gold medal was awarded from the World Association of Integrated Medicine, appreciated by the World Health Organization. This gold medal was awarded for his excellent contribution to alternative medicine. Special recognition was given to Professor Dr. Sir John Whitman-Ray from the International University for Osteopathy, affiliated to United Nations University of Peace in Costa Rica. Dr. John received the coveted Pax Mundi, or World Peace Award, from the Académie Diplomatique de la Paix under the auspices of the Dag Hammarskjöld Awards Committee through the United Nations. Dr. John has received the Golden Eagle Feather Award, which is given for service to mankind. This is the highest award that can be given to a North American Indian and is rarely given to a white man. He has since been initiated as a member of the Seneca Indian Nation of the Wolf Clan. The academic achievements and certifications of Dr. John Whitman-Ray are too numerous to mention. Suffice to say that he has recently been appointed to the position of President of the World Association of Integrated Medicine. He is currently Director of the New Zealand Natural Healing Centre and is a certified naturopathic practitioner in Australia and a member of the Natural Practitioners Association in New Zealand and Australia. He is also an honorary life member of the Body Electronics Institute of New Zealand and of the Australian Institute for Body Electronics. Professor Dr. Anita Savatsky-Ray, Doctor of Acupuncture, Reiki Master, and Dr. Anita has been trained in biology at the College of St. Elizabeth and Rutgers University in New Jersey. Dr. Anita was trained in Chinese medicine, yoga, and meditation. She was trained at the Kundalini Yoga Foundation in Princeton, New Jersey, initiated in the light and sound current by Taka Singh. She is a student of the Self-Realization Fellowship and the I Am Teachings of Saint Germain. Dr. Anita has studied body electronics since 1985 and has been a nutritional counselor and iridologist. She's currently director of Universal Light Products, a company dealing in health products. Dr. Anita has been awarded fellowship from the Indian Foundation for the Development of Integrated Medicine and the World Association of Integrated Medicine. She has received the gold medal for her contribution to natural medicine from the World Association of Integrated Medicine by the World Health Organization. She is a recipient of the Pax Mundi Award through the United Nations. Dr. Anita is currently a chartered natural health practitioner in New Zealand. She is an honorary life member of the Body Electronics Institute of New Zealand and the Australian Institute of Body Electronics. She's a certified naturopathic practitioner in Australia and a member of the Natural Practitioners Association in Australia. So, with that introduction, I'd like to hand you over to Dr. John. However, before we do that, just a matter of logistics. The convenience is outside, is in the other building, and we will have, there's water and tea available when the hot water kettle arrives, and there's water at the back there, there's cups there for you to use, and feel free to do that any time you wish to do so.
I would just like to say that the water is spring water through the living water unit. So any person who's not used to living water, you may find that you're going to the toilet a little bit more than normal.
The chair and the table and the room and the building and Sydney is yours.
Very good. I hope you all have a notebook for careful note-taking. We will have handouts to go along with the information which will be given. Can you hear me back there all right? Okay. And we'll be dealing directly with a number of issues. And whenever you have an issue, you will always have two sides of the issue. You'll have, for example, an alternative side, and then you'll have a medical side. And then oftentimes there's a third side. And so, but we're going to try to document everything for your sake, that you'll know exactly what we are doing and what we have done for many years. For myself, nearing 50 years of working in the natural health field. And we're going to deal with these things very carefully. I would recommend to all of you that if you have a question pertaining to something that is very definitely on your mind, please write it down and pass it in to us up here if you would, and we'll try to put it into the discussion as we progress. Now, this is not a fun and game type seminar, okay? This is going to be a very thorough, very deep seminar. And the next 4 seminars, today is the first, and then iridology, then sclerology, and then body electronics. These are basic courses that a person must understand if they are going to go ahead and become a practitioner and attend the instructor seminars which are given all over the world. Now, what we need to do is to look very carefully at your own desires and your own motivations. Because oftentimes when you find that there is something that is no longer just a lot of head talk, but something which is practical and usable, people then want to have the opportunity to move on ahead and get trained, that they might share what they have learned with other people. This is being done through the Body Electronics Institute of New Zealand and the Australian Institute of Body Electronics. And people will have full certification after fairly extensive training, and you'll have a background. The better background you have in your basic sciences, the more you'll understand as to what's going on. But nevertheless, there will be many things which will help you where we have a tremendous number of tapes, visual tapes, audio tapes, which will help you to learn and which you can, shall we say, recommend for people who have different questions to learn also. Now, this morning, we're going to go through some of the things that are absolutely basic to body electronics. And we find if people do not do certain things and do them properly, they will not get results with body electronics. And we're going to try to bring out different aspects of this so you will understand these things and be able then to pass the information on to your friends. Now, Anita handles basically all of the consultation work. What I have done in the past, and we just divided up our workload, is what I oftentimes do is I'll spend about 2 to 3 hours with a person in doing an iridology examination. Some things take longer, sometimes it's a little shorter depending upon the conditions and the exigencies involved that we have to deal with. And then after I'm done doing my work, plotting out a prioritized and, shall we say, a logical step-by-step procedure that will begin in the 4th weekend. And we'll get in the 2nd and 3rd weekend will also be involved in that. What we do is we also program for body electronics point holding, and then we have a nutritional program which we're going to be going through with you in today and tomorrow. Now this will take a little bit of time. Some of you will understand because you've been there. You've investigated the complementary medicine or alternative medicine and you know the value thereof. Now some of you this will be new and possibly you'll have to reverse your direction that you've been going and realize that what we have been doing, what we thought we have been doing, is incorrect and we have to make adjustments for it. My work began back in 1951 when I began studying very intently at that time the iris of the eye. And in dealing with that at that time, I began to wonder, why does the eye color and the eye structure change over the years? Well, we found the answers to that. We'll be sharing that next weekend with you in iridology, and because we use the iridology as a diagnostic tool. And so therefore, we have put together over the years, we've put together the iridology with its extreme flexibility and change when we release the blockages in the human body. We'll cover that tomorrow in part, the human mind aspects. And when we use a proper nutritional program, which frankly goes against most people's grains, because most of us are not quite doing it the way we ought to be doing it, and it takes a while to shift gears and move into an area where we're able to maintain and sustain our health. So Anita, take charge.
Okay, first of all, does everyone have this?
No. Let me just turn this over to you and I'll pass that out.
Okay, so we need to pass out the patient guide and the dope on pot. And when you get this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going down the patient directions. We're going to be
Speak a little louder, please.
We're going to be going down the patient directions. So it's on the 2nd page. We'll be going through each item there. Okay. So everyone has that now. Also the dope on pot.
You're going to have to speak up, dear.
Also the dope on pot. We're going to start with that one. From cigarettes, alcohol, and recreational drugs. Okay, now the cigarettes. The cigarettes constrict the blood vessels. And this is where you're going to have lower oxygen getting to the cells. This is one of the first things we've got to look at. So
You have to speak very loudly because it doesn't, this room just swallows up the sound.
No, that's fine. I can do it fine.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the cigarettes also drain the body of vitamin C. So if you do know any smokers and they're having a hard time getting off of it, make sure they're having their fruit every day, because one cigarette can drain the body of about 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. And vitamin C does not store in the body. It's a vitamin that has to be continually replenished. Alcohol. Now, we worked in Motueka. We had a natural healing center in Motueka, and we dealt with a lot of the grape pickers there. And we actually had one client who had stomach cancer from all the chemicals that they are putting on the grapes. So if you're one of these people that have a glass of wine with their meal, definitely drink organic wine. I would not recommend any commercial wine. The chemicals they are using on the grapes have been banned in the United States. These chemicals are extremely harmful. And we've seen many people come in to our clinic in Motueka with cancer from these chemicals. So now John says occasionally if you want to have a glass of wine or a natural beer. But when we get into the hard liquor, this is where we have degeneration of cells. Go ahead, John.
Moderation in all things. Now, if you have a little bit of wine, in the biblical way of looking at it, Timothy says a little wine is good for the belly. But that's a natural wine. No chemicals, no additives, and that means a little wine, not a whole bottle or a half a bottle. And so the thing is the problem is you tell a person that a little wine is good for the belly, and immediately they think, well, they're going to have a couple of bottles of wine that night. No way. Doesn't work that way. Alcohol, if we were to say a bottle of natural home brew of beer, there's no harm in a natural home brew of beer. One bottle of it, just a little bit to drink. Small bottle. But if you start encouraging people to have a little bottle of beer, then immediately there's 6 bottles, a dozen bottles, and the damage has been done with the excessive amount of alcohol intake. So sometimes it's better to abstain entirely than to put yourself into a situation where you will go overboard and do damage to your body by drinking too much alcohol. But the body can absorb and utilize a little bit of alcohol, just a little bit, but not excessively. So it's better not to drink at all. Now, I don't drink, but once in a rare while at a meal, if somebody pours me a little bit of a natural wine, I'll enjoy that thoroughly. Or if there's one home brewed beer with no chemicals, I'll enjoy that maybe once every 6 months. But the thing is it's the moderation in all things, because a little bit will not hurt you. And yet that phrase is justification for a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit all day long. And people miss the boat on that. Fair enough? So let's understand that moderation is the key, but moderation with good sound reason behind what we do, so we don't hurt ourselves in these areas.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay. All right, now we're going to move on to recreational drugs, which we've handed out this article to you, The Dope on Pot. And I would strongly recommend you to read that, because if you're going to be working in this field, you're going to have clients come to you that are smoking marijuana or doing other drugs. And some of the things which marijuana does, I want to point out to you: poor concentration. We have here on the first page of the article, the use of marijuana leads to mental confusion, poor concentration and attention span, loss of recent memory, loss of willpower, lack of motivation, inability to form concepts, and paranoid suspicion. Now, in body electronics, we encourage people to look at their memories. We encourage people to be more alert and have a greater concentration. So the marijuana would be working in the opposite direction to body electronics. Other factors with marijuana: there's a decreased sperm count in men. On the next page you have there, men who smoke marijuana have a decreased sperm count. The use of marijuana can lead to altered hormonal balance, specifically to a loss of up to 45% of testosterone, the male hormone, delayed puberty, and the possibility of faults in the mechanism of normal sexual differentiation. Okay, so we have the, for men who want to have a family, this is definitely a factor here. The marijuana also affects the immune system. Adversely. If the immune system is not functioning properly, then we're going to be prone to get all kinds of infections and diseases. Another effect is brain damage. On the next page here, it talks about how it alters genetic materials. Marijuana adversely affects the immune system. Marijuana seriously alters the activity of the genetic materials, DNA and RNA, and that this in turn adversely affects the ability of the cells to reproduce and to do so correctly. The result of these effects is that the individual will become prone to more and more frequent and more serious illnesses. And also damages within the children, genetic damages within the children. If you're going to have a family, the children then, if you're smoking a lot of pot, your child is prone to have some kind of deformity.
Birth defects of all kinds.
Right, birth defects. Now also I saw something interesting in this article. On the second to last page, toward the bottom, it says here, I am an expert in traditional Chinese medical therapy, he said. The Chinese say there is a serious danger in marijuana because it makes your back structurally weak for 3 days. So say, for instance, you're a bodybuilder, or you have a job where you're lifting or doing some heavy type of work, you're smoking marijuana, you're weakening the back, and therefore you can cause a lot of damage to the spine.
How do they know that this weakness is actually what actually does it do to the structure?
Can you repeat the question, Anita?
Yeah, can you come and repeat it into the...
For the Chinese herbalist or doctor to make that statement, what actually does the marijuana do? What area does it affect to make the back weak?
The essential ingredients in the marijuana, it's all in the article here for your study. It causes the synapses to be widened, the neural interconnections, so that a person does not get a good neural response down through the body. It numbs the pain, and this is why many people recommend marijuana as a painkiller for glaucoma and for cancer. All right? Now, does it kill the pain? Yes. Now, in body electronics, what we are trying to do is to get people to go back and re-experience the traumas that they have gone through. And by re-experiencing the traumas, this means experiencing or re-experiencing the emotional and or the physical pain. Now, if they are incapable of re-experiencing the emotional pain, which has been numbed by the marijuana, or if they're incapable of re-experiencing the physical pain, which has been numbed by the marijuana, then we've got a serious problem, because body electronics for them will not work. Now, we live in the northern part of New Zealand right now, and we find that nearly every school, a large percentage of the kids are having trouble in their learning, but they're taking marijuana on a regular basis. It's grown there, it grows everywhere. And many people make their living from selling the marijuana. And the same thing up in Northland, or shall we say North Queensland, where you have an area just ripe for growing marijuana. You've got many of the kids on it, and they aren't worth a damn, if I may be very frank with you. As far as their education is concerned, they can't concentrate, they can't remember, and they can't think, and they're out there puffing away on the marijuana to ease their stress. Are they under stress? You bet they are, because they're doing the wrong things to their body, which creates stress when they try to compete, shall we say, and they go out and get the marijuana so they can relax. The pain goes away, the emotional stress goes away, but it hasn't solved their problem. Now, in dealing then in Maui, Hawaii, where we lived for quite a long time, in Maui, Hawaii, marijuana was a very common thing. Everyone was on it. And we tried to get people educated to stay away from marijuana. And body electronics with these people only went so far because they could not reach a point of re-experiencing the traumas they have gone through, which are causing these lifelong reactive mechanisms within their emotional body and within their physical physiology of their body. These reactive mechanisms, we couldn't solve their problems because they wouldn't get off of the painkiller. And that's the common use of the marijuana. Now, many people have numbed themselves off for many years, and sometimes it takes several years of a good cleansing program to get the marijuana out of the system. One doctor up in Wisconsin that we worked with, this gentleman did research on marijuana, and he says he could still detect the active ingredients from marijuana in the brain 4 years after taking one joint. Now, that is confirmed also in this particular article that you now have in your possession. And I certainly recommend taking good care of that, copying that, and getting that circulated. There's good information there that needs to be recognized by people who are destroying their health by the misuse of the recreational drug marijuana. Are there any questions? Is there any good in marijuana? The answer is emphatically no. There's nothing that it can be used for medicinally which will help the person. It kills the pain, but that doesn't help recover the person from the cancer or from the glaucoma. When we get people on a program, which we'll be going into today, and the person begins to apply the program, the nutritional program will not work with them as long as they remain on the marijuana. So this is absolutely a no-no. And so in our advanced classes, we will not allow anybody in our advanced classes who's still even taking the marijuana occasionally. And if we find out they're taking it, they're out of the class. It's that simple. We won't tolerate any type of drug taking except medicinal drugs for the maintenance of their health. Like, for example, heart conditions or diabetic conditions. Sometimes people will have epilepsy and they need to have something to control their seizures activity. These are only good common sense. But in dealing here with what we're looking at is any type of recreational drug is a no-no. Now, there's no moderation here in the use of recreational drugs. Fair enough?
Okay, so if there's no more questions, we'll go on to the next one. Okay, now, John, we need to pass out the vitamin C material. Okay, now, first of all, you've got the article in front of you, The Noble Fakery of Linus Pauling. Now, John has a tape on this, and I remember when I first listened to that tape, I was like absolutely shocked, because in the past, growing up as a health nut in the past, we were all told to take thousands of milligrams of vitamin C. And I, along with the rest of the crew, was taking it. And didn't know at the time that the ascorbic acid is a suppressive agent. It actually suppresses the symptoms. So for instance, say you have a cold, okay? You take vitamin C, ascorbic acid I'm talking about. Your nose will be running. The vitamin C, ascorbic acid, will stop the mucus from flowing out of the nose, keeping all that mucus in the body, suppressing it, instead of allowing it to come out. In body electronics, we want all that stuff to come out. We want the toxins to come out of the body. So the vitamin C is actually acting as a suppressive agent. And this article, I would recommend you read it, because this information was kept from the public. Linus Pauling went ahead and gave false information about vitamin C. Why, we don't know. Hello, hello?
Greg, could you help and just to pass out some stuff here?
Fruit a day. 3 to 6 pieces of fruit a day. I know Dr. Shackley used to say 6 pieces. We usually say 3 to 6 pieces of fruit a day. Of course, organic fruit. Now, as I said at one of the free lectures, people think that they can peel the skin off fruit and get the chemicals off of it. That's not true. They did a study in New Zealand on apples, and they found the chemicals in the core of the apple. The sprayed apples, they found the chemicals in the core of the apple. So it's not true that you can peel them to get the sprays off. I would recommend eating organic fruit, because you're going to be taking those chemicals into the body. Those chemicals then settle in the tissues of greatest weakness. You want to say anything on that?
I have a running battle with the Naturopathic Association here in Australia at the present time, because they think the best thing going is all of this ascorbic acid. Now let's talk about ascorbic acid for a minute that all of us take or have taken in the past. You have a bladder infection. You take ascorbic acid, what happens to the bladder infection? It stops. Then what happens when you stop taking the ascorbic acid? The bladder infection returns. And people go in and day out, year in and year out, taking ascorbic acid to keep suppressing the effects of the bladder infection. The same thing will hold true again. What Nita has said is your flu-like symptoms, where you're draining from the nose. People go out and exercise, they get their body healthy again, they're breathing fresh air, they're going out here and eating good organic food, and then the mucus will begin to pour out of the body. And they say, oh, this is terrible, I can't have this, so they take about 1,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid 3 times a day, and all of a sudden the mucus stops. Then they stop taking the ascorbic acid and the mucus begins to flow. And they don't understand that here they're trying to get their body healthy, and yet this ascorbic acid stops the mucus from flowing. What we do is we want that mucus to flow and flow and flow until from the iris of the eye, that we'll talk about next week, we'll show you pictures of that mucus as it forms in the tissues of the body, and we'll show you exactly what we have to do to get rid of it. Now this is where the problem is. Now I used to recommend to my patients, this goes back 20 years, I used to recommend that they take about 5,000 milligrams a day. Linus Pauling told people to take 10,000 milligrams a day. Why did I have so much confidence in Linus Pauling? He wrote the chemistry textbooks that I was trained in the university. The man was a genius in his in the work that he has done pertaining to his understanding of chemistry. And so when I ran across this material here by Dr. Arthur Robinson, who was the man in charge of the research of vitamin C at the Pauling Institute, all of a sudden when I got to know Dr. Arthur Robinson, talked with him, and I printed here with his permission this material to get it out to the people, which was found in the Executive Intelligence Review. When this came out, my goodness sakes alive, Robinson told me that Linus Pauling, Nobel Prize winner, made a fiction out of all the tests done in the laboratory. And in fact, according to Arthur Robinson, that he found that large amounts of vitamin C caused cancer. Now, I didn't believe that for a second until one of my cohorts in Los Angeles called me on the phone and said, John, you're giving people all this vitamin C. Do you realize you're pushing them to the very threshold of cancer? I said, nonsense. We work with people who have cancer and get them well. And then I started thinking to myself, they're all feeling good. And why are they feeling good? Because they're taking this mammoth amount of vitamin C, which stops the healing crisis, which is the story on that whole thing is in this book here, on the second book of the Logic and Sequence series on the healing crisis. And people who are serious and need to get a good understanding of how the body regenerates and heals need to get that information under their belt. So I began to realize that the flu-like symptoms, the mucus and discharge and so on, vitamin C would stop that dead. And then you stop taking the vitamin C, the discharge continues, which is helping to cleanse the body, which is what we are interested in. And I began to realize that when people took large amounts of vitamin C, they no longer had healing crisis. The healing crisis was suppressed by the vitamin C. And so I started looking at this a little carefully. It took me about 6 months to a year dragging my feet, because nobody likes to admit that they're wrong. And when I found out that I had egg all over my face when I ran across Arthur Robinson's material, boy, you should have seen me backpedal. And all of the people that I worked with around the United States and Canada, I said, hey, look, we've been on the wrong track. Well, guess what? They were still on the wrong track because they rejected me and what I said. They said, that's nonsense. Vitamin C works fine. And they're still using vitamin C to this day, except we've been able to turn maybe half of them around now over the last 20 years, because they now have seen the same things which I have seen. And let's make this a little more pointed. In iridology next weekend, we will show you how to program an individual so that you will know exactly what their problems are and what to do to correct it. There's no other school of iridology in the world that does this other than the Ray program, which is being taught internationally now. Fair enough? Because the eye color changes, the eye structures change, and the different mucus indicators in the eye change. I've worked with the black people of Chicago, and all that black or dark brown pigmentation over the eye disappears as the congestion in the body clears up, which is there genetically. I have worked with the Chinese people in Hawaii. I've worked with the Japanese and Korean people in Los Angeles. In all cases, the brown eyes turn blue. I worked with the Maori people for about 8 years, Anita and I together in the Cook Islands. And in all cases, the eye color gets lighter and lighter and lighter as they remove from their systems the inherited blockages that they have had. Now, if you work with the black people in Chicago, these are people with black-brown eyes. And the color of the eye changes in all cases. It sometimes takes a few years. Anita used to have black-brown eyes. She comes from a pure line of Polish blood where they all have black-brown eyes.
No, Poles have blue eyes.
Some have blue eyes, but Anita's line was black-eyed. Her eyes are now pretty well greening up. You can come up and see her eyes, but it's taken her a number of years to do that. So things don't happen overday unless a person has some sort of a wonderful experience where the eye color changes from brown to blue in 24 hours, and we've had that happen. But those are isolated cases. Now, that doesn't happen every day, but that happens to where there's a tremendous release within the body of the suppressed traumas which have been there genetically, because everyone knows from study of genetics that brown eyes are dominant, blue eyes are recessive. We all know that. We've all been taught that. But in the work that we're doing now, we are able to overcome the problems which causes the melanin protein complex to form, which is a stimulus response reactive mechanism, which is now indicated in the iris of the eye, and you can find that throughout the body. Now, that's the way it is. There's a whole thing on melanin research. Melanin being the coloration in the body, in every cell of the body, in the iris of the eye. It's all there. Now, we can get that for you if you want to have that research. But it shows you that the stimulus response reactive mechanisms of a human being, which has been inherited from their ancestors, will end up in the eye as a definite pigmentation. Now, you'll have fun with this. I remember a lady in Los Angeles, her name was Florence Ikebata, and she said to me, "I'm the first blue-eyed Japanese in my family." And we worked with her for quite a lengthy time, and her conditions and problems cleared up that she had, and the color of the eye changed markedly. So I want you to understand that there is a oneness of the human race. There is definitely a oneness, and let's not put any racism into this matter, because there's no racism. We find that when the inherited conditions which have been passed down genetically over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, when those things are corrected, we're going to have changes in this iris of the eye. And that I can promise you. We've done it, we've proven our point, and internationally now this is acceptable among the people who have eyes and can see.
So what you're saying...
Come up here, sir.
So what you're saying is that we actually come from one stock.
We are
Talking about thousands and thousands of years ago.
There's a lot more to that I won't get into in this class.
Oh, okay, fine.
That takes several hours of explanation. But we are all related and interrelated over thousands of years. Now that is the case. And we all have DNA material. If you study the DNA, we go back and show that we all have common roots. But that goes back maybe 3 million years or so, and beyond that. It's hard work there. Now, in dealing with this vitamin C material, we will not have time in this class to go over it. That's why this is being passed out to you, and you got a copy? Okay, and I assume that you will read this material if you are really interested in your health.
It's very interesting.
I had to back down on this vitamin C. There's about 22 different vitamin C pardon?
Components? Or?
Components. About 22 different components, and ascorbic acid is only one of them. When you make the ascorbic acid in the laboratory, it's no longer the same as what you find in nature. What you find in nature will work in the human body, and what is done in the laboratory, it will not reproduce nature. It'll have the same chemical configuration as nature, but it will not be the same as nature. We want to get our bodies back as close to nature as possible, and then the bodies will heal and regenerate. So that's enough on that vitamin C, Anita.
I just want to, can I have the mic?
You can certainly have that mic.
I just want to point out that those of you who have the patient guide to body electronics, on page 36 in here, John has a write-up on vitamin C also. So that's further reading for you on the vitamin C. Recap some of the things he says here, and that's important. I also want to point out that a lot of people think if a little bit is good, then a lot is better. And I know some people who are fruitarians. I don't want to put down fruitarians, but I do want to make this statement, that the fruits cleanse the body and the vegetables build the body. And sometimes people are cleansing, and the body just starts to weaken then. And there's no amino acids there, there's no vegetables to build it, to regenerate the tissues and the bones. And you're always cleansing, so that's not a good idea either. Okay, so now we're going to move on to raw protein foods. Now we need to pass out the grain fields material. Do we have that?
Yes.
Grain fields, okay.
I don't want to steal Anita's thunder on this business, but I want to talk about protein. Now, if any of you are bodybuilders, I am a bodybuilder, I am a weightlifter. This is how I was able to restore a lot of destructive muscle structures on my body that I couldn't restore any other way. I got in a bad car wreck and I had certain muscles that just went to flab. And I had to, once I got the nerve supply restored to it, I had to build them up again. And so I began doing a specific weightlifting and bodybuilding. Now, what I found was that most of the weightlifters that I eventually started taking care of in the Cook Islands, most of them had serious problems. I began to study very carefully the weightlifters and what they ate. They ate tremendous amounts of protein, bodybuilding food. You go down here and you find in this bodybuilding food levoamino acid. Levoamino acid. It says L-amino acid, and so on. I found out that these are absolutely deadly for the body because they're made in the laboratory. Now, for example, if you have a dextro form, which is a D-amino acid, dextro has the symbol D on it. This comes from natural raw food, raw protein, uncooked protein. Because your cooked protein will destroy a number of the various amino acids that are necessary for good health. But what we found was that the levo form that you would get in the health food store, you know, in the vitamin section of the health food store, you have all these vitamins with levo form of this and that. I began to look into that and realized that the fiber structure in the iris of the eye, when it's going forward out of the pigment layer, you're getting healthier. But when it's going back posterior versus anterior coming out, I found that the person was becoming suppressed in their activity and their health was failing. Now, having studied iridology since 1951, I have become very keen observer of eyeballs. And this is what some foods will bring the fibers anterior into a healing mode. Others, which are synthetic in nature, synthetic vitamins, synthetic drugs, etc., those things made in the laboratory will cause the fibers to move posterior back into the pigment layer. Now, when I saw that happening with the label forms of your amino acids, this got my attention big time, because I then did a thorough study of the digestion of your protein foods. Protein which comes from a live source. Protein which comes from a live source will be in the dextral form, the dextral rotatory form. If put into a slurry solution and a light is pushed through that stuff, then the polarized light will push the thing to the right, which will be dextral. If it is a synthetic and it's put through a polarimeter in a like manner, then it causes the light to bend to the left. And anything which bends to the left will be unnatural for the body, which will cause the body to become ill gradually over a period of time. But those things which are dextral will cause the body to be healthy and well. And so using a polarimeter, you can determine what is dextral and what is lavo. Now that has been a revelation to me in the studies, and I'm glad I had a background of chemistry. Now, if you take a dextral form of an amino acid into the body will take a part of that dextral form of your amino acids and turn that into a lavo form in the body, in vivo. And it will cause then the body then to function normally, because some places you have to have a balance between your lavo form and your dextral form of amino acid. You got me on this? Okay. Now, if you just take the lavo form into your system, it will not change into a dextral form within the body. The body is therefore out of balance. You will have the suppression of a symptom by taking a lavo form of an amino acid. They work in the suppressing of a symptom just like a drug, but it pushes the fiber structures in the eye posterior back into the pigment layer. And you've got a problem with the health of the person eventually if they continue taking it. That's why nearly all of your bodybuilders, your weightlifters and so on, that have heavy protein intake in the form of these lavo forms of amino acids, they're all ill. They got a big bulky body, but you look at the iris of their eye and my golly, they're sick. Now this is, they would want you to say this to them because they're bulky, they've worked hard at building up their bulk. The way it is. But the thing is, they've destroyed the health in the process. Now this is what I want you all to be aware of. We need to have our protein from our fresh and raw sources. 2 of your 8 essential amino acids. Listen very carefully to this. 2 of your 8 essential amino acids, one of them is tryptophan and one is lysine. You destroy lysine and tryptophan at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly 42 degrees centigrade. Okay, how many people cook their food above 42 degrees centigrade? We all, every time we eat cooked food, rest well assured that tryptophan will be destroyed as well as lysine. These are 2 of your 8 essential amino acids. Now get this, you have to have all 8 essential amino acids to convert other protein foods into the necessary amino acids, and you have to, for hormone secretion and manufacturing, in some cases you have to have all 20 amino acids, like the human growth hormone. Your thyroid, thyroxine has to be at 17 amino acids, but it has to have all 8 amino acids. So if you're going to take a protein food and cook it and never have raw protein, then you're never going to have tryptophan, you're never going to have lysine, you're not going to have your 8 basic amino acids. It'll be impossible for the body. Without those 8 basic amino acids, it's impossible to manufacture and therefore secrete the hormones into the body, and people who eat cooked food are going to be hormone deficient. Bottom line. So if a person wants to get well, let's say they have cancer and they want to get well, they cannot get well if they're going to eat nothing but cooked food. Are you with me on this? Because the hormones don't work. If a person wants to get their thyroid working again, which requires 17 amino acids, incorporating the first 8 amino acids, if all 8 amino acids are not there, you with me on this? If all 8 amino acids are not there, they're not going to be able to manufacture and secrete thyroxine as thyroid, and they're going to have a low thyroid activity in the body. And they'll have to be on some sort of medication for thyroid, because without that, you're not going to be able to assimilate your B complex, you're not going to be able to assimilate your protein. Nothing in the body works without that thyroid working for you. Hey, we got problems then, don't we? And so when we try to say moderation in all things, yes, moderation in all things, but by golly, get your fresh and raw fruits and veggies every single day so that you have the proper amino acids in your system that come from an uncooked source. Now, did I make that clear enough? I don't know how I can make it any clearer. Raw protein is important. I didn't want to steal your thunder, Anita, but there you are.
Honey, you didn't steal anything. We just need to get the information out. Now, I would like to say that fruit, going back to the fruit, we should definitely eat the fruit alone. If you mix it with other food, then it causes fermentation within the stomach. So eat fruit alone. However, there's always an exception to the rule, and the exception is avocado. You can mix avocado with fruit, and avocado does have a certain amount of amino acids in it, and it's raw. However, it does not have all the amino acids. So this is where we are recommending for all the amino acids raw, we are recommending the Grain Fields product. The Grain Fields product, which you can read about through this, it's all in detail in here. And we are also recommending bee pollen, unheated bee pollen. If you go to the store today, you've got to make sure it's unheated. A lot of the people are putting it in the microwave to dry it, and all these using high temperatures to dry the bee pollen. Make sure it's unheated. Hank just brought up the Grain Fields products. You want to say something on that? Here we have the BE whole grain liquid.
BE stands for Body Electronics.
Body Electronics whole grain liquid. And we have the grains and greens. Now there's also the whole grain powder.
You've got the whole grain powder.
And we have the whole grain powder. The difference between the whole grain powder and the grains and greens is that this has more greens in it. This has the barley grass, wheatgrass, alfalfa grass, whereas the whole grain powder, I believe, does not have the greens in it.
Can I
That's
get
it.
excited here for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
These are Australian, yeah.
Now, for many, many years, the problems we have had are about 95% of the people have problems with their pancreas. The pancreas secretes different types of enzymes for the digestion of food. And nearly everyone has digestive disturbances, okay? Now, when I came to Australia, I found this one little tiny company called H&HM Fermented Foods. And I heard that these people were putting out a protein powder in a pre-digested form. And I thought to myself, impossible. Because if you digest your protein, so I had a little question mark on it for a while. I just didn't understand it until I found out that this was fermented foods, which were used in every culture where people live to ripe old ages. At 120 to 140, they're still out working in the fields. They're still having families and children. And I thought to myself, well, that is really interesting, because oftentimes, as the Germans say, "We get so soon old and yet so late smart." And by the time that we start having a little bit of sense, we die of old age in this culture. 50, 60, 70 people, 70 years of age, and you're gone. Okay, this material here is all pre-digested. It is done below the temperature which destroys the amino acids. And it's all pre-digested through a special fermentation process that this genius of a guy by the name of Alan Myers has been able to work with this fermentation process for many, many years. He's from the bread industry, where he set up many different bread companies all over the world, and showing them the process of fermentation that it took to have good bread. But this is up in Wynnum, which is in the Brisbane area, and this old fellow, he has done work that was unbelievable to me. So as soon as I put this on some of my weightlifters, all of a sudden the protein digestion cleared up completely. They started putting on mass and putting on strength. And this I really enjoyed. So on some of the athletes, we started using them on the athletes there in the Cook Islands. And some of them, all of a sudden, where they couldn't digest protein, now they could digest and assimilate their protein. Now, one of the problems that we have, which we have learned from many of your people that are involved in cancer research, is that if you have a high protein diet, this causes cancer. And this has been argued back and forth. What we have found is that people who are low in their activity of their pancreas, which everybody who has cancer will have a lousy pancreas function. We'll explain this a little later on. But basically, what has happened is these people, if they cannot digest their food, they cannot digest their protein and or the carbohydrate, and this goes into the system as what they call in the medical physiology book by Arthur Guyton, it's called mucoprotein. It's a combination of undigested protein and undigested carbohydrate, which clogs up the system in such a degree that a person is incapable of getting nutrients to the body. Now, when we get into iridology next week, we'll explain this in detail, and you'll simply be absolutely surprised, because everyone who has a cancer condition in their body will have a mucoprotein problem, a protein and carbohydrate digestion problem. And we'll get into that. Well, by golly, this corrects that, because this is already pre-digested, and it has all of the amino acids in it. Alan has designed this particularly for our needs in body electronics, and it has all of the amino acids in it, and there's nothing like it on the market anywhere, because all of the protein is in a pre-digested form, non-cooked. All of the amino acids are there. And so you're going to get all of the amino acids in your system. And then what's going to happen to the hormone situation in the body? All of the amino acids come alive in the body. All the hormones begin to start being manufactured and secreted. The body starts to regain its youthful vitality and metabolism, and the person's healthy and well again. Hey, this is important. This is what we need to look at. And so protein, as Anita will get into this gradually, we have a long ways to go through here and a lot of things to cover. But the protein, up until this point of time today in 1998, I haven't found a product which will hold a candle to the grain fields product. Low temperature processed, fully digestible by the human body. And this way, this takes the burden off of the pancreas because it doesn't have to be digested by the proteolytic enzymes, the amyloidic enzymes, the lipase enzymes that are secreted by the pancreas. Any questions on this, please? Any questions? Now also here, this is the grains and greens formula. We'll discuss this in greater detail later on. This has in it, everything's digested, and it has the chlorophyll in a form that the body can immediately assimilate. And the chlorophyll we definitely have to have to help us with our anemia conditions in our body. If you take a picture, shall we say, of chlorophyll, the chemical structure of it, and if you bring it up here, and take this chlorophyll and put that into a good picture here, and compare it to hemoglobin, the chlorophyll, thank you, Greg, the chlorophyll will have exactly the same chemical configuration as hemoglobin, except chlorophyll will have magnesium as a central ingredient in that chemical configuration, and in hemoglobin, that will have iron. So people who are anemic, through the biological transmutation that goes on in the system that is now widely accepted by intelligent researchers, the chlorophyll is turned into, or is converted to, or goes through the biological transmutation into the hemoglobin. And so if a person is anemic, give them lots of greens, non-sprayed, organic, bioorganic type greens that have not been sprayed by chemicals of any kind. And then but the thing here, for people still with digestive problems and with pancreatic problems, or who have cancer, who have pancreatic problems, real bad ones, then this material here goes right directly into the system and helps to alleviate the problem with your anemia, which is your iron deficiency. Now, I should say one more thing here. Up until this time, looking at the iris of the eye, we haven't found where this product causes the mucoprotein buildup. On the other hand, it causes the mucoprotein to be digested and resolved and pushed out of the body with a running nose. Sometimes the ears run, sometimes the eyes run, sometimes the nose runs, and so on. And you'll have coughing up all the sputum out of your lungs. All the mucus in the body starts leaving, and we want to keep going until that's completely gone. Now, sometimes the nose will run like a faucet, and you think you're sick. No, you're getting rid of that mucus. I used to have a solid ring in my iris of my eye of mucoprotein, all the way around the eye, solid. And I remember when I first found the mysteries of this protein thing solved to some degree, it took me 2 months for my nose to run like a faucet to get that mucus out of my system. Now what Greg brought up here, Greg Barnes, he brought up some Rev Plus. Now this material here has in it all of your amino acids by test, and they're all in a pre-digested state along with the chlorophyll. And you take this internally, and I'll tell you, you'll have energy that you won't know what to do with. Everyone that I know of who has been taking this find an immediate burst of energy. So for people who are feeling down, very low, they're tired all the time, worn out all the time, this stuff will help to build up the body where they can function normally in life. And I think that I haven't found anybody that hasn't responded positively. Have you? I have some people saying that this stuff here, made by grain fields, this is what they take every day and they live by it. I'm not part of the grain fields organization, all right? I'm just recommending those things that we know work. And this process of pre-digested state through the fermentation process, this will eventually be widely used throughout the world. Right now, the only place in Australia that I know of that they're doing it is at grain fields. Now, what should I have said, Anita? Pardon me?
The anemia ring?
We'll get into that in iridology. Yeah.
Just a couple things here. When John was speaking about the synthetic amino acids, all the amino acids in here are natural, but I do want to caution you that a lot of the synthetic amino acids are found in vitamin formulas, like if you're taking a vitamin supplement. Also, you find them in like vegetarian hot dogs or sausages. They have these vegetarian type of foods that copy the real foods.
Oh, they do have the label form.
Yeah. You find the label form, which is the synthetic, in these type of things, and also in protein powders. I think he covered that. But a lot of the protein powders you'll find in the health food store. Be careful. Read the label. If you see L, tryptophan, L this, L that, that's all synthetic. So watch those formulas. I just suggest reading all labels from now on, because it's amazing what you find in things. I also want to talk about some other raw proteins. Now another one, I talked about the bee pollen. I said get unheated. Another raw protein which you can use occasionally too is raw fish. I know the islanders make a very nice raw fish. They soak it in lemon juice. What do you call that? Soaking? Not soaking. They marinate. They marinate it in lemon juice, and they put some chopped up tomatoes and cucumber in there, sometimes onions, right? Things like that, and they make it into a raw fish. Now, I would caution you with tuna, because tuna is very high in mercury, and the bigger fish are very high in mercury, so use the smaller fish if you're going to use that. And I wouldn't have it all the time because of the high mercury levels in the fish now. There have been several reports lately that the mercury levels are too high.
That's from anywhere in
Well,
the world.
anywhere in the world, yeah. Yeah, and Sai Baba also talks about that we should not eat fish anymore, if anybody's a Sai Baba devotee. He also says that we should stop eating fish.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
About 15 years ago, I was in Hawaii, and I was asked to go over to the Big Island and give some seminars in Kona, Kailua. And one of the seminars I gave there, my host was a fellow who had 2 boats that he went out fishing for the marlin. And all of a sudden, while I was there, the people went in, tested the meat of the marlin, and said this is unfit for human consumption because of the high amount of mercury in it. And at that time he said that the fish livers are very high in mercury now. That was 15 years ago. And then they closed down the tuna industry because 15 years ago all the tuna were full of mercury. But then the Japanese would then import their tuna from Japan in, and the authorities in the states just threw their hands up in the air because of the large population of Japanese there in Hawaii, and they didn't know what to do about it. And so they just they took down all the restrictions on it because it was out of control. Now, today, let's see, we're over in the Cook Islands. All right, we have a lot of friends up in a little tiny island called Manahiki. It's way up in the northern Cooks. And for years, they used to catch these sharks and give the shark livers to the pigs. This year, the people that had the big pig farms, they caught the sharks, gave the shark livers to the pigs, and all the pigs died. They checked into it. Mercury poisoning. In New Zealand, pardon me?
Where's the mercury coming from?
Industrial mercury, mining, etc. There's just thousands of places where mercury can come from. But it's polluted the food chain. Now, down in southern part of New Zealand, there's a lot of companies now making money out of catching sharks, selling the shark meat, and then selling the livers to the Japanese for the cosmetic industry. Yeah. And what they do, the Japanese have taken this cosmetic material and they put it on their skin, and their skin turns white. Works beautiful. You know what's in that? Mercury. And mercury, when you put it on your skin, it will whiten the skin. We've all known that for years. But in the cosmetic industry, this is what they're doing. And the people who are doing that are making themselves deathly ill. Now, we've got a problem here with mercury in the fish. The reef fish, so far, do not have excessive amounts of mercury in them, the smaller fish. But higher up on the food chain, the larger one, like the marlin and the tuna and so on, these are contaminated with mercury. It's worldwide. It's not just a problem in Australia or New Zealand or the Pacific. Salmon, homegrown salmon in the waters where you have them farmed, no problem. But if they go to the ocean, that's right at the top of the food chain. Yes. Herring is not a big fish. It's a smaller fish. I think you'd be all right there. Yep. But the reef fish will be all right. But the big fish at the top of the food chain are no-nos now, because they're fully contaminated with mercury.
By the way, on this idea of cosmetics, if you cannot eat it, do not put it on your skin. And Kate Meyer, she now has a range of natural cosmetics which she says you can eat. And Hank has them back here. Yeah, you want to bring them up? Body lotion, and she's got toner, and she's got a lip balm, natural lip balm, no color on it though. Because the lipsticks, a lot of the lipsticks have red dyes in them, which they have proved in the United States cause cancer. A lot of these red dyes. So be careful with the red dyes in the lipsticks and in blushes. We have here, we have the moisturizer and the scrub and the skin toner. And they're all natural. You can actually eat these. They're made from, I'll give you some examples here. This product is an extract from organically grown wheat, barley, alfalfa, grasses, spirulina, whole wheat, barley, alfalfa, rye, oats, maize, millet, flaxseed, soybeans, buckwheat, mung beans, brown rice, fresh green ginger, fresh lemon juice, and filtered water.
May I let the cat out of the bag? How this stuff works is in the process of fermentation. One of the side products is lactic acid, which is also important for the health of the body. We won't get into that because that's into that grain fields, that 12 points on grain fields that I passed out to you. The lactic acid is used to preserve this indefinitely, okay, because it is a preservative, but it's a natural preservative. About 85% of this is lactic acid, of this bottle. And that is chock full of your acidophilus, plus 12 other lactobacillus strains. Nothing like it for putting that back into the colon. It's the best source of acidophilus on the market. Now, the lactic acid will help to dissolve scar tissue externally. and you put the lactic acid on the scars. It'll take away, for example, it'll cause the cross-linking of the protein molecules to stop, which you have on your skin. The brown spots on the skin, people call them liver spots and so on. Lots of older people, lots of younger people today have them. And these little spots on the back of the skin, you put that lactic acid on that, and it'll help to get rid of them. The scarring under the skin where you have a wrinkle, you have a wrinkle on the skin. Underneath that wrinkle is a scar. It's where the collagen's all collected together, and you have the cross-linking of your protein molecules. The lactic acid will dissolve that scar. If you want to go down here, what's the name of that one big operation down here? David Jones, is it?
David Jones.
What's that big retail department store?
David Jones, yeah,
Is it David Jones?
David Jones.
You pay $75 for a little tiny bottle of this lactic acid. And you dab it on your little spots right here around the wrinkles around your eyes, and the wrinkles go away. It works beautiful. $75 a bottle? Much, much better. And you put that on your skin, and that will slowly dissolve the wrinkles on your skin and takes the scar tissue away superficially, slowly, as well as internally, but it does it on the basis of lactic acid. Where's my 12 points? On the 12 points, you read this, and you're going to sit back and be totally amazed, because this is my research on it. After about 15 years of research, I finally got it all written down. The lactic acid is part of this. Okay?
Lactic acid is a result of exercise.
Yes, it is, but this explains it all. Pardon me?
Put the question.
Okay, question on the tape. Thank you, Greg.
Isn't lactic acid also produced by the body naturally when it goes through an exercise?
Absolutely, and explains why. Now, there's a whole bit of research that can be done on this lactic acid. So this is something that, but there's a lot of information in here on that. You'll enjoy that immensely. Now,
I want to talk about another factor, because I see two people in the class here have dark glasses. And I used to wear... No, if you need them to see, that's fine. But I want to explain it to you so that you understand what's happening. Maybe some of you, the other people, wear sunglasses also. But I used to have a pair of sunglasses, which I really used to like, prescription, and I didn't want to give them away either for a long time. But then John convinced me finally, stop wearing those glasses, and I finally decided, well, I guess I have to. So I stopped wearing them, and I got clear prescription glasses now. And then one day I said, oh, I'm just going to wear my sunglasses today. And boy, did I feel the difference. Did I feel the whole body shuts down. And I'm going to go through here and explain to you what happens. Now, you could wear them today because I know you don't have any other glasses, so you can't see. But in the future, you should get some prescription glasses without the tint on them. Okay? When we have, does anybody in here have a problem with sleep? No. Okay. No problems with sleep. Well, one of the 20 amino acids that we have is tryptophan. And tryptophan is necessary for the manufacturing of serotonin, okay, which is necessary for the manufacturing of melatonin, which is the
Can I say something on that, please?
Yes.
Tryptophan is one of your 8 essential amino acids. And when you eat a lot of cooked food, you have no tryptophan in your diet. So you don't get serotonin, which is then a precursor for your melatonin, which comes from the pineal gland.
Now, melatonin is secreted in response to environmental darkness, which the glasses would create, and then this shuts the whole body down. And this is where you get a really good sleep at night. You know, the darkness would, because you have the melatonin there, because you have the tryptophan there, which comes from the 8 basic amino acids, would really shut the body down and you get a really good night's sleep. Now you're artificially creating a darkness, yeah, which you're shutting the body down. So this is just an important factor. Any questions on this? Okay.
You will find that if you have a hormone imbalance, you cannot stand light. And therefore you wear the dark glasses to keep the light out, when the light is what you need to bring the hormones back to normal function. Because as Anita said, the pineal gland is the key which secretes the melatonin, which controls the hypothalamus, which has 8 hormone-releasing hormones that controls the pituitary, which secretes, for example, one of the hormones is the thyroid-releasing hormones that controls the thyroid, and on down through the whole system. And so when you shut down the melatonin from the pineal gland, or turn it loose, shall we say, when the melatonin is turned loose, it shuts down the entire endocrine system in the body. And that's why we encourage that people do not wear the shades. You know, it shuts down the body. If you have trouble with light sensitivity, when you get the hormones working properly, then you'll have no longer a problem with light sensitivity.
Okay, anything else on amino acids, Hank, you want to say before I move on? No. Okay, just one thing. Victoria, we need the kettle. I don't know if you got it. Just thinking about the break. Okay, she got it? Oh, she got it.
It's here, isn't it?
That's here.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next one. D, keep the colon open.
That's good to move on.
Keep the colon open such that one goes to the toilet about a half an hour after each meal. Now, some of you may be shocked when you read this. I know I was when I first read it. Because a really healthy person will go to the toilet a half an hour after the meal. Now, one of the questions I ask people are you constipated? And they go, oh, no, I'm not constipated. I go to the toilet every morning. Well, that's really not good enough.
Or once every 7 days, whether they need to or not.
Yes, well, I've heard that too. But we really need to go a half an hour after each meal. And this is where we need a high fiber diet. If you're eating a lot of white bread, processed foods, a lot of pastas, these things stick to the colon wall. And you're not going to have that regularity of going. You need the high fiber diet. You need a lot of salads, a lot of organic vegetables and fruits. And now this is where also the grain fields products comes into focus, because Alan has put in here, Alan Meyer, the originator of grain fields, he's put in here all the good bacteria which the intestines needs to allow you to assimilate all the vitamins and nutrients that you're taking in the food. If you don't have that in the intestines, you're going to have a lot of gas and a lot of bloating. John talks about that in this article here. We do need the healthy bacteria. Now, some of the things that will destroy the healthy bacteria are coffee, tea, stress. Stress is a major factor. Antibiotics. John, you have that list there? Wait, okay. Deep fried foods. Deep fried foods. Everyone get that? That's no more fish and chips. Ascorbic acid. Now, we have a story about ascorbic acid on this, because Alan, when he went to make the grain fields product, he was working with his good bugs, and he decided that he was going to go out and get some apple juice to cultivate the good bacteria.
Listen to this one, please. listen to this one. This blew me away when I heard about it.
And so he went out and he got this organic apple juice, because I said to him, make sure it's organic apple juice, not regular. So he went out and he got organic apple juice. And all his good bacteria died. And he said, I can't believe this, because usually apple juice, they just thrive on it. So he finally called up the company and said to them, are you putting any preservative or any chemical in your apple juice? And the person said, no, 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 no. And then he said to her, well, you must be putting something in it, because all my bacteria have died, and usually they love apple juice. Well, she says, well, we are putting vitamin C in it, but that's natural.
Natural ascorbic acid, made in the laboratory.
Yes. So, therefore, the ascorbic acid does kill off the good bacteria. So you'll find, if you go out and if you drink a lot of these fruit juices from the health food store, they do not have it on the label. They do not have it on the label, but you'll be destroying your good bacteria. Preservatives also kill the good bacteria. Petrochemicals. Drugs of all kinds. Caffeine. Yes, caffeine. Now, when I say petrochemicals, a lot of people use these things like Vaseline, things like that, Vaseline intensive care, all those products. Those are made out of petrochemicals, and they go right in through the skin. Right in through the skin and affect the system. So be careful with all these synthetic moisturizers. Any kind of synthetic vitamins, synthetic substances, and also, John, here's fatty trans isomers or any heated fats. Heated fats, especially heated oils. Heated oils, yes. Okay, so to replenish the supply, if you're a coffee or tea drinker, you're going to need to take this every day to replenish those good bugs in your system, to get that back in there.
I'll tell you a little story about Alan. This one fellow told me, he says, hey, don't stay away from that grain fields, it's got bugs in it. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, stay away from grain fields. I heard that his stuff has bugs in it. Alan calls his bugs, his acidophilus and lactobacillus bugs. And he just talks about his bugs because this is he is the top man in his field that I'm aware of internationally in working with the lactobacillus. On page 8, you have all of the various lactobacillus bacteria in this particular material here of the BE lactobacillus. And he has found in his work that you have to have all of them. You have to have all of the bugs there in the colon and the small intestine to make it work. Now, the funny thing is Alan is an expert in this area, and most people are still selling in the health food store Lactobacillus acidophilus. That's it, or maybe a Bulgaricus. But here you have all of the necessary Lactobacillus in the intestine. Now, for people who are borderline healthy, I read a report in the news up in Brisbane where the medical people are estimating that 1 out of 2 people in Australia today have cancer, men, women, and children. That's a little heavy duty. 1 out of 2 people in Australia. Now, I think it's much higher than that, but this is the ones that they have tested. A lot of people probably have cancer, but they don't know it yet, because the cell structures of the body, you know, are continually going in and out of a phase where they're oxygen deprived, and when the body is oxygen deprived, it develops cancer cells. And then the body gets oxygen back, the cancer cells go away, they're reabsorbed back in the body. So that's just something to consider. But we need to have this material in the colon to keep the body healthy, because without the acidophilus, we cannot assimilate and transmute the materials in the colon to good, healthy food.
Okay, some other things on the colon. Some other products we use are the LBS2 from Nature's Sunshine. Now what this does, these are herbs which trigger you to go to the toilet, okay, because you might not be able to go in the beginning when you get on the program. You may have a problem, so you use that just until you then, till you're then going regular. This triggers you to go, the LBS2.
The law in Australia that is now being enforced is that all herbs that go through the health food stores and so on, that go for sale publicly, have to be irradiated. Now maybe you're not aware of that. We had, for example, in New Zealand, we got wind of some of the things that were happening because a shipment of bee pollen had come from Australia to New Zealand, a large shipment, which used to be no problem. But this one was irradiated. We tested it with kinesiology, very, very weak. Problems. Where do you get non-irradiated herbs today if you can't get them through the health food store? Last trip that Anita and I came into Australia, we stopped by a place in Brisbane where they grind up herbal products. In this case, it was echinacea, all organically grown. And I asked the man there who was doing the grinding, I said, now where does it go from here? Does it go to the encapsulator? No, it has to go through the irradiation process first because it can be, before it can be encapsulated to be put on the health food shop. I said, is that true for all herbs? He says, yes, that's a new law. It's very disturbing to many people, so they're keeping it very quiet so the people don't know about it. But all of the herbs in Australia now, or all herbs that come into Australia, has to be irradiated before it can go on the health food shops. I scratched my head. I thought, well, where is this going to end? Now, bottom line, this means we have to become absolutely self-sufficient, where we can grow our own herbs on pesticide-free soil, so to speak, or chemical-free soil, so that the herbs are going to be absolutely healthy so that our health can be protected. Because if you take an irradiated food into the body, I've got a stack of stuff this high over at Hank's, and I'm doing my doing an article now on irradiation of products. And the thing is it has been shown that irradiation of any product takes the genetic structure and changes it into a non-food. And anything that you take that has been irradiated, it'll kill vitamins, enzymes, what have you. You take your bee pollen, you irradiate that, it'll stay forever on the health food shelf. And it will not deteriorate because the essential ingredients in there are gone. Now here's where we're in trouble with the herbs. We're really in trouble with the herbs because you cannot go to a health food store today in Australia and get herbs that are not irradiated. There are some companies still slipping stuff through that hasn't been irradiated on a small level, and the health food stores haven't been called to account yet. But Hank, what's the charges for slipping something through that hasn't been, that you sell something that is not approved by the Therapeutic Goods Association?
Probably the first one is a warning if you have not been approached before, and the second one is $125,000. It has been known that there have been people been growing herbs without the approval of the TGA, where all the herbs they had have been destroyed.
This is all going back to the World Health, not the World Health Organization, but the GATT Commission under One World Government type of thing, where only the large corporations, the international corporations, will control all the seeds. And it's technically, by law, it's illegal to grow your own seeds.
Not
On the
Yeah.
mic, come up on the mic.
I was just going to say. I was just going to say something on that, because in the States what they've done, they've replicated the energetic patterns of herbs. And what they're doing now through a process called pharmaprint, where they have patented these individual energetic patterns of the herbs, and now they're saying we can replicate it, we can put these on the market, and we destroy anything else that's grown, because that's what people don't need anymore. It doesn't bring in any money, so we can start selling our own products. So that's what's been happening for a number of years already. So just be aware of that.
All I can say is ouch, because what can you buy now that's not irradiated?
Yeah. Okay, talking more about the colon. Now, some of you may need a parasite cleanse. And when we do the iridology, you'll see we call them spokes. There's these spokes in the eye. You'll see them. We'll have to show it to you on the screen in the iridology. It's hard to describe here. But if you have those spokes, then you have a tendency toward parasites. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have parasites, because you may go to a doctor's office, take a test, and he'll tell you you don't have them. But you have a tendency toward the parasites. And then you would have to do a parasite cleanse. Now, most of these cleanses of the parasites include garlic in them. Yum? Yeah. And I know some people eat a lot of garlic, and they like it anyway. So you wouldn't have parasites probably, but that doesn't mean you would necessarily not have parasites. But I also want to bring out other information on garlic for those who are eating it regularly. Garlic taken in large quantities contains allicin, A-L-L-I-C-I-N, which according to Japanese research findings can destroy the membranes of red blood cells and inflame the gastrointestinal tract. And this information is from the Health Revolution by Ross Horn, page 160. That's the reference, page 160 of the Health Revolution by Ross Horn. And he talks about this. And we've also found other information that garlic actually flattens the EKG in your brain waves. Bob Beck.
If you don't know Bob Beck is one of the foremost researchers here in brainwave activity in the United States, internationally for that matter.
So he says that it flattens the EKG in your brain waves. So this is where excessive amounts of garlic probably would not be helpful to the body. Now, for other reasons, for other spiritual reasons, a lot of the yogi masters tell you not to have a lot of garlic and onions because it excites the lower passions. Now, some of you may need to excite the lower passions. But if you're going into a spiritual program, this is where you don't want to eat a lot of garlic and onions because it acts like an aphrodisiac.
Now this is something might be of interest to you. Garlic has a way of attracting negative forces, or what some people call evil spirits. If you're going to do a little exorcism on a house, what you do is you take a bag of garlic or a bag of onions, either way, and hang it up in the four corners of the house. And what happens is the spirits of darkness are drawn into that garlic and onions. And the onions will rot and the garlic will rot. You take them out and burn them in a fire. And then you hang up another bag of garlic, another bag of onions, or however you want to do it. And you keep doing that until the onions and garlic no longer rot. And at that time, after it's all done away with fire being the purifying element, then you keep burning your onion and the garlic that's all rotted, and you make sure you burn it well. And at that time, you'll have no more trouble with these negative forces in your home. But if you hang up your garlic and onions and you have negative forces there, then the garlic and onions will rot. And there are many people who follow these old myths, as they call it, but these old myths seem to work in certain cases. Now, the higher spiritual masters teach that garlic and onions will attract negative forces. Now, on the other hand, we have medical doctors in Los Angeles that have parasite cleansing programs that they have people coming in, and for 3 days they eat nothing but onions and garlic sandwiches. And they just eat them and eat them and eat them. Now that puts an almost impossible condition for anything to survive in the intestines. It drives out all the parasites. And then the people who are there who do have parasite problems will then squat into a warm commode, shall we say, of milk and honey. And the tapeworms that are in the colon are drawn right out through the rectal area, right out through the anus, into that warm bowl, shall we say, of honey and milk and honey. And they're drawn right out into that. And this is how some people get rid of your tapeworm parasites, of which many people have tapeworms. This is a reality. And other type of worms too. But the worms all come out. They're driven out literally by the onions. So the onions and garlic comes out, the parasites follow right along suit. So kind of keep that in mind a little bit. These things are used by people who understand parasitology.
Okay. There is a parasite cleanse by Nature Sunshine. I don't know if that's allowed in the country, but it's called the Para Cleanse by Nature Sunshine. Para Cleanse. What? Probably not. I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know, but there is one if you're a Nature Sunshine distributor, the Para Cleanse. Now, also, there's another cleanse if you're having, if you're a person with severe colon problems, and this program is called the Arise and Shine Cleanse. Now, the man who started this cleanse, he was purifying his body so much, eating all natural foods and really purifying himself so much that he was up in the mountains one day and he actually had an angel appear to him.
He had a friend with him at the time.
Yes, a friend was with him at the time, and an angel actually appeared and gave him the formula for this cleanse, for people to cleanse themselves of all the toxins. Now, this is a very intense cleanse. I would not give it to anyone who is on their way out that has just a couple weeks to live or something, because it can weaken the body. It's a very deep, intense cleanse, and people have sent us pictures of these ropes of mucus and material that come right off the colon wall. They actually come right out of the colon wall. Peter Brotherton, if you know him, he and his wife did it, and he actually sent us the pictures of it. And this is what it says that it does. It takes this gook that you've had in your colon for centuries from all the processed food we've been eating, and it just strips it right off, and you could just see it. It comes out in ropes. Have you done the cleansing?
Unfortunately, the product is not available anymore because it's been taken off the market.
Really?
Yes, you cannot buy it because the importer closed down last year. They closed the importer down.
You can't go down right to the company? and do
You,
that thing?
you can write to the company and bring in your own. But as Anita just said before, be careful. I prefer, and what I've seen, that we build up the body first before we do that program. There is another one called the awareness program, which has similar effect as the Horizon Shine. But that was my introduction when I came to Sydney. I met somebody who he had just done it, and he looked pretty gaunt after the whole program. And I perceived that he had not built up his body sufficiently to go through that process of cleaning it out to that extent. Because you go on the fast as well, like as part of the program, that you don't get any nutrients into your system really. But we talk about it a bit later, how important it is that you keep getting your enzymes and minerals into your body when you do this type of work. And when you do it, talk to somebody who knows a bit about it, so that you can get the support with it. That's very important.
Yes, I know Peter Brotherton in Melbourne. He's a body electronics instructor. He has done it. So you could call him and talk to him if you're one of those people that need a tremendous colon cleanse. The other thing for the colon would be colonics, which you'd have to find someone that's using, of course, good water. You don't want to have fluoride water going up you, because it'll go right into your system. And I prefer disposable equipment over equipment that they clean. So it'll be disposable equipment and, of course, good water. Do you know any good colonic therapists?
Unfortunately, I have not come across a good colonic therapist here in the Sydney area, other than possibly the one in Randwick, but I have not investigated that one myself. Like if you go to King's Cross, there is one where people get hooked up and they're left to their own devices for like half an hour to 45 minutes. If you go to a colonic therapist, it's very important that you have that personal contact. When you receive the treatment, that you also get the massage of your colon, where they start in the sigmoid colon area and then work their way up through the descending transverse and to the ascending colon until you get, after a period of time, and it probably can take about 10 to 12 colonics, you get to what we call the cecum dump, where you get that burning hot discharge coming through. And then you probably find, if you keep doing it, there'll be another one somewhere along the line. And from personal experience, we had a very good colonic therapist at the last instructor's course at the Atherton Tablelands. And what he did, he had that personal contact with you. He turned you on your side. He massaged one side, put you on your back, massage while you're on your back, and turn over to the right side. And he was constantly in contact with you and communicating with you what was happening in your body, and also asking questions on what you perceived at that particular time. And as Anita just said, it's so important to have the right water as well, because you don't want to get the fluoride into your system. And it's even better if the water is re-energized, because the water that most of us have access to is absolutely dead. And if that can be re-energized through the living water concept, that will be of much greater benefit for you when you experience that.
Okay, I just want to say one more thing about the colon health, and that is water is very important. A lot of people can clear up their constipation by drinking more water. Now, we recommend 2 liters per day. 2 liters of course, good water.
For small people.
For small people, yes. More for larger people. So 2 liters per day of course, non-fluoride spring water, ultimately energized with the living water. And we'll go into water later, or you want to talk about water now?
No, later.
Later.
Now, I want to discuss something with you. Can you hear me back there all right, Hank? Okay, I want to discuss something very important with you, and that is using body electronics to dissolve the adhesions that exist in the colon area. Because oftentimes, if there are strictures brought about by the scar tissue, which had been originally put there through injury, operation, or parasite activity in the colon, then those strictures will stop the colon from functioning normally with its peristaltic action. And it will have a reflex action, as we'll talk about very importantly next week. It'll have a reflex action to every single part of the body. Now let's say that there is, if we heal from the inside out, looking at the iris of the eye, we'll talk about that later, we'll find that, for example, if a person has a bad kidney problem, and they're trying to solve that bad kidney problem, that kidney will not heal until the internal structure of the iris of the eye, representing the colon or the stomach area or the central nervous system, is healed first. And so from the medical point of view, you treat the organ that isn't functioning. But from the work that we do, we go inward and find out where is the source of the problem. We correct the source of the problem, and then oftentimes the organ that is in question heals immediately. If we have a cancerous condition, it's because there's a lack of nerve supply and circulation somewhere in that particular body part. Why is that lack of circulation and nerve supply, why is it there? We have to go back then and correct the nerve supply, which oftentimes could be simply a subluxation in the spine, where we need to correct with the either osteopathic or chiropractic or naturopathic means the subluxation in the spine, so that the nerve supply can then be restored to that organ that is malfunctioning, or part of the body that's malfunctioning, or where the circulation can't get to it. And when the circulation can't get to a body part, then that body part starts to go downhill. Now, a lot of this begins in the colon. Now, for example, I'm trained in colon therapy. I was trained under Dr. Robert Wood from Tasmania, who moved to the United States and established the Australian Naturopathic School, where until he was about 93 years of age, he continued giving courses in colon therapy. Now, in his work, he proved conclusively, for example, that if you have a toxic cecum, which is down on the lower right-hand side of the body, where you haven't had what Hank talked to you about earlier, a good cecum dump, that is the source of many of the toxins which cause all kinds of problems in the body. And so here's where you need, oftentimes, I would say everyone, about once a month, a good colonic washout until we can get that cecum squeaky clean, so to speak, which is full of old dried up dog biscuits and other toxic material, and we get that cleaned out and get that thing cleaned out well, then that part of the body will begin to heal. And so if you can find a good colon therapist, as far as I'm concerned, they're like precious gold, because they know how to get the colon clean. You've all heard the expression that death begins in the colon. I like to say that life begins in the colon. And we need to understand all the aspects of health which would give us something, problems to our systems. So colonic therapy is extremely important.
Okay, and I was just looking through my notes, and I actually found here an article that someone gave me up in Cairns, the Cairns Post, Saturday, April 11th, 1998, talking about the vitamin C big doses that we were talking about before, and they are linking it to cancer. And it's right in this article, and this was April 11th, 1998. So, another article on that. I also have a chart here on the colon and the different reflexes it has to different areas of the body. So this is important that we do get it cleaned out because, and you'll see in the iridology also how different sections reflex to different areas. One other factor that may cause a constipation or a problem in the colon is, of course, something happening in the spine where you may need an adjustment. And then John sometimes has put somebody's back in, and all of a sudden they have to go to the toilet like that. So this may also be a factor. The spine is linked, all the parts of the spine are linked to different parts of the body. So if we have a calcification in certain areas, this may also cause problems in the colon. Okay, next subject. We're going on to E. Use no cooked or fried oils or fats. Okay. Now, a lot of people love fish and chips here in Australia and in New Zealand. And this is where we have the heated oils, which the fish is cooked in and the chips are cooked in. These heated oils, okay, when you heat an oil to a high temperature, the molecule shifts. It then goes into the body cannot break it down, and it starts lining the blood vessel walls. Now, a lot of the health nuts say to me, oh, I'm having stir fry, I just put 1 drop of oil in the pan and make the vegetables. And they do this every night. This also causes buildup in the blood vessels.
Anita will remember when she took organic chemistry, the cis isomer, spelled CIS dash isomer of a fatty material. Now, a cis isomer will have a molecular structure like a W, which the body is capable of absorbing and using it as a food. But when you crank up the heat, and start heating this fat, the fatty material which normally found in fruits and vegetables, and you find fat in everything, okay? Animal fat, eggs, protein, cheese, what have you. Now what actually happens is that cis isomer is then the structure, the chemical structure remains identically the same, but it twists and it forms one like a straight line. And this straight line is indigestible to the body and ends up clogging up the arterial system and the venous system of the body. And it's called a trans fatty isomer, so to speak. Now, this material here is a non-food. Margarine is full of it. Eat a little bit of butter. Butter is better, always. Never take anything margarine-wise or any of your, what's that one starting with a C now they have now?
Canola oil.
Canola oil and things like that. These are processed foods. Nearly all of your oils today are processed in such a way that it becomes indigestible to the human body. And this is wherein we have to get rid of that and get back to a natural butter. Now in the United States now, because of all the hormones that they feed the cattle, the milk is absolutely no longer edible because it is toxic to people who eat it and milk products. I don't want to say anything about Australia or New Zealand, but I would say that it's pretty much the same for the farmers that use the hormones and so on in their industry to force the cows to grow faster through the growth hormones and so on, and to give more milk. And we got problems there. Where do you find good milk? Proverbs 27:27 says, "Thou shalt have goat's milk." But, and this might be the key, because the goat curd is about 1/7 the size of the curd of the milk of the cow. And the goat's milk is high in potassium, where the cow's milk is high in calcium. So it might be that we have to go back to goat milk in order to survive and get a good source of our protein food.
You can get the unpasteurized goat milk down at the health food store. And the unpasteurized is better than the pasteurized because the pasteurization kills all the enzymes within a product.
The homogenized milk also takes the substance of the milk in the form of xanthine oxidase. It's an enzyme in the milk. And it will take that milk and batter it down into very, very small particles that when you drink it, it is absorbed through the walls of the small intestine. And this xanthine oxidase has been proven now up in Canada and the United States as being one of the prime causes of the scarring of the, or the irritation, shall we say, of the blood vessels. And then the body has to come along and heal that irritation by plastering it with cholesterol and also the fatty substances which cling to it, and eventually the different heavy metals that are in that particular thing, creating this plaque buildup inside of your arteries, causing your arterial sclerosis. So milk drinkers, if you drink your homogenized milk, you're in danger of getting this xanthine oxidase into the system. And we do know that Australia and New Zealand, which are milk drinking countries, have the greatest amount of heart disease and arterial sclerosis and so on than anywhere else in the world. So just consider that, please. Now, there have been books that have been written on this, what they call the XO factor, which is your xanthine oxidase factor. And the people who wrote the book, you know, and have done their job will probably never get the Nobel Prize because it is not, shall we say, socially acceptable to condemn milk because of the high-powered dairy industry that is behind all their advertising on how good milk is for you. But milk, because of the tremendous amount of hormones pumped into the cattle now, you're in trouble. One of our patients came down with muscular dystrophy, which is, he no longer has muscular dystrophy now. But he had it, and he was, his speech was real bad, and he could hardly walk or talk, you know, and so on. And he was a farmer, shall we say, he had cattle and he had sheep. He also had horses. Now, what he did is he exposed himself to this drench that they put on the back of the cattle to keep parasites from functioning, and so on. The same thing with the sheep. You always dip the sheep or drenched them. And what was the final analysis is that he found that if he gave any of the lamb from the meat of the sheep to his dogs, even 2 to 3 weeks after the drenching, they died of poisoning because the meat was poisoning from the drenching. Now, this is the stuff that goes to the butcher, and the butcher, you know, they chop it up, and we have our meat and so on and so forth. But what's in the meat today? What's in the meat? But you don't eat the meat after the drenching, whether it's lamb or whether it's cattle or beef, because it's very, very detrimental to your health. Now, how about the cattle? That stays in the system. And how long does it stay in the system, in the fat of the system and so on? We got problems there. Okay.
If you would like to get some of these books, the Exo Factor, which John talked about, and I've got an address here for you where you can get these books from.
Write this down, please. You need to increase your library of learning.
It's called New Zealand Universal Health Products. Post Office Box, New Zealand Universal Health Products. Post Office Box 797. Mount Roskill, Roskill, Auckland, New Zealand. Phone number is 09 620 4171. And their fax number is 09 620 4872. And the books that we are talking about, the book John talked about earlier, Louis Cabran and Biological Transmutations.
I didn't talk about that in class.
Well, you mentioned it.
Mentioned it to this gentleman here.
Okay, you mentioned it to him, but you briefly mentioned it in class. You said biological transmutations.
I said that in passing.
In regard to the
Yeah.
chlorophyll.
Yeah.
Okay, and also the other book, The Exofactor. They have also other books that we recommend. Another one, which I'm going to recommend now, is the one by Dr. Johanna Budvig, where she talks about the flax oil, where she has been healing patients through using 2 tablespoons of flax oil 3 times a day, patients which have cancer.
With protein.
With protein. The book is called flax oil, no?
Flax oil.
I think it's called flax oil.
Flax oil.
Flax oil, right?
Now I'd like to answer a question that we had earlier. Dr. Louis Cabran did some work down in Libya. He was a French scientist, and he did work in Libya on the fellows that worked around these drilling rigs on these hot concrete pads in the hot Libyan sun. And he would find out why were these people able to be fully active in that hot heat, when from a chemical point of view it'll be absolutely impossible just through the sweating procedures on the body alone to take in the, to evaporate enough water to cool the body in that type of temperature. So what he did is he took all of the salt tablets that they were taking in. They had to have salt tablets to survive. They took in the salt tablets and weighed them and measured them, and every bit of intake the person had in the way of food, and checked over what they had going in, and then checked all the excrement and all the sweat and so on, and had what they had coming out, and they weighed and measured and what have you. And they found out that the only difference that was going in and coming out was that sodium was going in the form of sodium chloride, which was salt, but potassium was coming out. And where did the potassium come from? Because the person was excreting tremendous amounts of potassium, but they weren't secreting sodium. And the sodium was not building up in the body. Where did the sodium go? So he began to follow this experiment on through and found out that people who had problems with the adrenal gland and the secretion of aldosterone were not able to handle high heat problems. And we know what we call sunstroke. And so people who have adrenal conditions have sunstroke. They can't secrete aldosterone. Because aldosterone was used as a catalytic agent in converting the sodium to potassium in the body, forming what they call an endothermic reaction, which causes the body to absorb heat. But as that heat is absorbed by the body doesn't get any hotter, because the endothermic reaction within the body neutralizes that heat and cools the body. And this was what he had found is the cause for the chemical reactions that are going on inside of the body, in order to create a condition where it's just not the evaporation of sweat off the body that cools the body, but the body is going through this endothermic reaction in the body, causing it to cool so it can handle hot temperatures. I hope I made that clear.
Yeah, what was that catalyst again?
Aldosterone. It's a hormone. And so if the adrenal glands are not working properly, then we've got a problem. Now, we talked before about the different hormones that that require the different amino acids for manufacturing and for secretion. And so if the amino acids are not there properly, you don't get the hormone production. And so this is another thing, is that most people who have degenerative diseases will have adrenal problems, they'll have pancreatic problems. So this is something that'll help us understand better. Now, one of these books that Anita had mentioned is called Biological Transmutations, that if you're interested in this in any manner, shape, or form, this is an earth-shaking book, and frankly, it's still, most scientists don't want to hear about it because it shakes the platform of their belief system. But this is a French scientist. He's done the job well. He's presented his case well, and he's looked upon as the world authority on this subject. But there's a book translated from the French into English called Biological Transmutations by Dr. Louis Kirvran, Kirvran. And this man is by far the greatest proponent. He has 1,000 different studies which fully authenticate this biological transmutation of the elements, which we find in body electronics when we get into the point holding as the exothermic and the endothermic reactions that go on within the body, which are explained in Book 2 and Book 3, that you need to understand this well. And there's 50 books that size can be written on the subject. But we're exposing you to this so that you can go to the work of Dr. Louis Kirvran and studying through his teachings on the matter.
Can you tell us where to get the book?
Write an IBSN
I
number.
know.
I'll write an IBSN number up for them.
Well, the address I gave you, or what, can you get it from somewhere in Australia?
I've been informed that the book is out of print.
Doesn't Graham have any more?
I don't know.
Graham has some. The last time I talked to him in New Zealand,
Oh, he had some.
Yeah.
he has them. And if you, this is a rare book, get it. It's valuable, invaluable for the thinking man's library.
That address that I just gave you is where you get the book. New Zealand Universal Health Products.
You have that address, Tony.
Yeah, that's the place. Yeah, he has a whole list of these books. Unless they go out of print, then I don't know.
How do you spell birthplace in New Zealand?
Mount Roskill, R-O-S-K-I-L-L, Mount Roskill. Now, I also want to talk about people that eat a lot of these cooked and fried oils and fats usually develop what you'll see in the eye is a cholesterol ring. It's like a white tire around the eye, and we'll show that on the slide in iridology. Oh, sorry. I forgot. But when we had our clinic in Motueka, we had an oral chelation program to clear out all these clogged up arteries. And we got tremendous results with it. And I'll give that to you now. What we used in our oral chelation program was flax oil, 2 tablespoons 3 times a day. Now, make sure you get organic flax oil, because there is flax oil that's non-organic. So make sure it's organic flax oil. Lipase enzyme. Now, the lipase helps to, the flax oil emulsifies the cholesterol. And then the flax oil, the lipase goes in there and helps to digest up that emulsified cholesterol, and also helps to digest the oil if your liver cannot handle with all that oil going through you. So we've got two factors here, the flax oil and the lipase, and the lecithin, 1 capsule 3 times a day. The lecithin helps to further liquefy that cholesterol to get it out of the system.
And also the funny fats.
And also the funny fats. So those three work together, the flax oil, the lipase, and the lecithin. They work together.
Anita, is that our dessert spoon or your tablespoon?
Dessert spoon,
Dessert
right?
spoon.
Dessert spoon. Dessert spoon. Yes, dessert spoon. Yeah, your dessert spoon. Yes.
Which is still pretty good size.
Yeah. And then what we used also, of course, you've got to get them off of all these fried foods. That's the major thing. You've got to get them to change the diet to a high fiber diet. High fiber diet, no fried foods. And then we also add in niacin to help dilate the blood vessels to get all these nutrients to the cells. And niacin will go into later, how to take that and what to do with it. But for right now, the high fiber diet. Now there's one other factor that could contribute to this, and that is the thyroid. Do you want to talk about that now or later?
Well, which weekend shall we talk about thyroid?
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, introduce the idea.
Okay, well, if you have a low thyroxine output, you're going to be prone to cholesterol buildup.
Also mucoprotein buildup.
And also mucoprotein buildup. So this is where you'd have to go and have your thyroid checked and make sure that's working properly.
Is that the only manifestation of the low thyroid output?
No.
No, there's more, but I'm just talking about cholesterol now.
Hold this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to...
Don't worry about it.
So many things to talk about. I mean, we're just talking about this cholesterol problem right now.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Tony, would you be willing to step up here for just about 1 minute and just explain what your circumstance was as of about, a couple of weeks ago, was it? A couple of months ago, when you came over to New Zealand? Would you like to say something about that? Just put it over here for me.
Here you go.
Thank you. Around about August the 3rd, I went to New Zealand. I had a problem. I was very ill here in Sydney, in bed. I'd just been diagnosed a couple of weeks prior to that with having a heart problem. I had anagrams, I think that's the word, the dye, and they indicated that 3 of my particular arteries were starting to block up. In combination with that, I also had, there was an indication of high blood pressure, and with this upset me a wee bit, but I was invited to go to New Zealand, which I went immediately from my sick bed, very, very sick, but I still caught a plane. My brother took me over.
You're scheduled for surgery.
Sorry?
I thought you were scheduled for surgery the following Monday.
Yes, I was. I was also indicated that I was to go to back in the hospital for surgery with regards to a heart bypass. It was indicated that there was 3 of these would take place. And the same token, there was also my legs, which were the blood circulation wasn't happening, and that was going to be the second surgery after they'd mended the heart or the heart arteries, if I can just put it that way. So I went to New Zealand, and I was introduced to Dr. Ray and Dr. Anita at a lecture similar to this. I understand I was turning from my natural coffee-coloured complexion to very, very greyish complexion. And I was very grey, apparently. I couldn't see myself, but Dr. Ray saw it and immediately put me onto a couch and pressure point.
We had a nice little massage table over here And I just asked for volunteers. We put them on there, and we had to get after him because I looked in the eye, and when we get into the third weekend, which is the sclera, he had certain lines in the eye which I would just shook me up really, because I only see those when a person is either having a coronary, going to have a coronary, or have had a coronary. And then we see certain signs if he had a coronary, which were not there to any great degree. But the thing is he was having tremendous pain, as I recall, in the chest, shoulder, and left arm, which angina. And he is having that, Susan. You remember that. He's having a lot of pain in here at home.
Yeah. Yeah, and the legs, of course, was another problem for me. As I just said, my legs, I was finding it very hard to walk up any elevation whatsoever. On the flat, I was okay, but walking up any sort of incline, I had a lot of problems doing that because there was pain there in my legs. So they're the two things. But however, after the point holding with Dr. Ray, and I think there was about 6 of them point holding at that particular time, 6 or 8, 2 in the legs and the side. I can't express the points because I'm not familiar with them, but it was interesting to note that there was about 6 or 8 actually holding me on at that particular time. After I'd finished that, there was a lot of better feeling. I'd able to take part and sit back in the lecture again, and the lecture day was finished. Within 24 hours, of course, we were up in Kerikeri, where Dr. Ray and Dr. Anita Ray live. I was privileged to be invited personally to their home, their private home, where a point session took place again. However, prior to that, there was about 4 hours of consultation with Dr. Ray, who analysed myself again and gave me what they call a reading. I was then transferred from him. This is part of the function, the process that takes place, to Dr. Anita, who actually put me onto a program thereafter. And point holding was to happen again the next day. So in all, I think I had 3 sessions of point holding, and I left about 5 days later to come back to Sydney. I must confess I was feeling a lot better, but I had to take up the program. And I just repeat a confession to Dr. Anita. I was having a lot of trouble with the salt section of her program and giving up salt, but I'm dealing with it as fast as I can. But it's not easy after having salt for about 50 years, and he'll stop having the salt. I found that a wee bit difficult, I can assure you.
But we don't, wait a minute, Tony. We don't say to give up salt. I don't know where...
Oh, not give up salt.
We recommend the Celtic salt.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was talking about the other salt.
But the Celtic salt is really delicious.
Yeah.
It's really delicious. It's just as salty as the other salt.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it should be...
Well, I don't know either, but I was just seemed to be going back to the other salt for some unknown reason. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what was happening to me.
Okay.
But I'm dealing with it.
All right.
So, as I say, after that time, and then I came back to Australia, and I continued the program that Dr. Anita gave me. 99% I'm able to handle, and to take the necessary minerals that was given to me that particular time, and I'm still doing it at this point in time. I think I'm looking a bit better.
How's the legs?
Yeah, fine. I'm walking again. So there's still a bit of pain there, admittedly, a little bit, but not a great deal as when I left Sydney over 6 or 8 weeks ago.
We still have more work to do. But Tony's on his way. More point holding, Tony. But I wanted to bring this up to you in the way of dealing with people who have clogged up arteries. You don't have to have an operation. Now, Anita and I, we worked down in Motueka at the Motueka Natural Healing Center with Dr. Earl Conroy. I've lost count of the number of people that we had there that we put on programs such as what Tony has gone through, and we saved them from having this bypass operation, which oftentimes a person really never recovers from. We've had so many people where they always have problems of one type or another after any type of a major surgery. And that, of course, they can walk and talk and so on, oftentimes, but then you all know that 2 or 3 years after they've had the operation, the arteries have a tendency to start clogging back up again. And so this is a problem that we've got. You've got to change the program that caused the cholesterol and fatty substances to get into the arteries and veins in the first place. And that's what we have been doing. Imagine we had 1,000 patients down there,
Yes.
and we saved an awful lot of them from surgery. Most all of them from surgery.
Yes, you also have to take the person off of margarine if they're eating margarine and any kind of heated fats and oils, all fried food. So now we also put them on the full program, but I just wanted to stress these certain items which they should definitely be taking, because I've seen a lot of people with a cholesterol ring and then they tell me, oh, I don't feel like taking the flax oil. Well, that's one of the major things they need. So these things definitely need to be stressed, the ones I just gave you. Okay. Now, continue on. Okay, now the next thing, use no margarine, we talked about that. The next is refrain from using all pork products. Now, when we lived in the islands, a lot of the islanders used to make pork stew. They put the pork bones and everything in, and they make a stew. Now, John says that the pig does not sweat, so all the toxins go into the meat of the pork, of the pig. So therefore, you're taking in a lot of toxins by eating pork meat. So we say to get off of all pork meat.
From the medical point of view, pork is the most toxic food known to man. It has if you look at it under a microscope, it has a layer of meat and a layer of fat, then a layer of meat and a layer of fat. And that fat is where the toxins are stored because pigs do not sweat. They have a drainage out down near their hoof on their feet, where they have a drainage coming out of their system down there. But they don't sweat like a human being does. Therefore, all the toxins are embedded in that fat. Now, having been raised on bacon and eggs for breakfast, ham sandwiches for lunch, pork chops for dinner, I was raised on that for many years. I'd come home from school and eat a couple of cans of Spam. I think for those of you, that just went, ugh. For those of us who were hooked on pork, that was some of the most delicious things we ever had. We got pork hot dogs every chance we could. And so you wonder, at the very early age, I was deathly ill most of the time and didn't know why. I was sick to begin with. I was one of these little buggers they would have cast off and, you know, got rid of before he was a year old, you know. I was really a sick one. But the thing was, the pork didn't help me any. But later on, when I found out how toxic pork was, then pork is the first meat you give up. And then make sure that the other meat that you eat is going to be organically grown, free from injections and free from chemicals and so on, so that you can get good organic meat. Now what I did, let me put it this way. If you have a glass in the freezing compartment of your freezer and you take it out and plunge it into hot water, what happens to that beautiful wine glass? It breaks. Don't be so radical that you change your diet overnight completely, because you'll break just like that wine glass. And so you get rid of your pork first and then gradually begin to eliminate your meat eating. Now, I had a ribeye steak for breakfast, a ribeye steak for lunch, and a T-bone steak for dinner, and I thought I was a health nut because all of my meat was organically grown. And this was my earlier years of my life. And then gradually, I went from meat to chicken and fish, and gradually now, I still have a little fish once in a while. Eggs, a little bit of cheese. But the thing is, don't be so radical that you have to become a vegetarian overnight. You know what I mean? You'll destroy your health because your body won't adjust that quickly. So be gentle with yourselves, but be persistent in your pathway toward eventually a vegetarianism. Because many of us are in a position where we've got about 30 or 40 generations lined up behind us that are all heavy meat eaters. You think we can get rid of our meat-eating habit just overnight? Maybe after a few years, yes. But it's going to take us a while to do that. Comments? Okay. So just in relationship to pork products, give that up first in your pathway toward straightening your bodies out. Our bodies are built to be vegetarians. Our teeth are built for chewing food, like a vegetarian, not for ripping and tearing food like a carnivore. Our colon is as long as all vegetarian colons are. Our colon is not a short, fast gut which a dog or a cat has. And therefore, if we take a lot of meat products into our system, it has a tendency to ferment in our system before it can get out. And so just take a look at what our body is built for. It's built to be a vegetarian. So please try to consider that.
Okay, next, H. Refrain from all canned meat and fish. Well, okay, now these things here, most of them have been cooked to death, so you're not going to be getting any enzymes there. So then you're going to be getting toxic buildups in the body unless you're taking enzymes with it. But also there's factors with the cans. One person told me there's high cadmium, some of the canned products. I don't have any research on that, but I always say go close to nature as much as possible. Try to stay away from anything processed or canned. Okay, I, withdraw from stimulating drinks. Now, a lot of these stimulating drinks can have up to 4 tablespoons of white sugar in them. And this is going to rob the body of a lot of B vitamins. So if you have a weak pancreas, it's going to make it weaker.
Research done in Washington, D.C. The immune system is suppressed by 50% after taking 1 Coca-Cola.
Wow.
It bounces back a bit. After a couple of hours, it bounces back again. But during that time, the immune system is adversely affected by the amount of white sugar found in Cokes.
You sure are. Okay, eat whole wheat bread in preference to white processed flour bread. Now, the grains, I've spoken to several of the farmers, and they put the grains in holding bins, and they actually spray them with chemicals 6 to 9 times.
Malathion.
Yes, to kill all the bugs. So this is where I say, if you're going to eat bread, eat organically grown bread, where the grains are organic. Now, the better option is to eat the Essene bread, which we didn't get any for you today, but we'll try and get some for you. They didn't have any, Victoria? Tomorrow. Okay, so we'll get some for you tomorrow to try it. For people who haven't tried the Essene bread, this is where the grains are sprouted. You take the grains, you sprout them, and then you mush them all together, and you make them in the shape of a bread. And then the original recipe, they used to put it out in the sun. The person who makes it in the shops, I'm sure they put it in the oven at a very low temperature. But this is where you have an organic sprouted grain. And this is much healthier for you than eating the other grains. Do you want to say something on that?
I always want to say something. Let's discuss something about this malathion that they spray the wheat with. 9 times is what they said it was sprayed between where they gather the grain from the field, put it in the containers and so on, and they get it all the way down to the bread manufacturing. Now, here's the problem. Malathion is a deadly organophosphate. Yes, sir?
Stretchy.
Okay. And this organophosphates, one of the symptoms of organophosphates would be lung congestion, like asthma. Many of our asthma patients, as soon as we take them off of whole wheat bread, because of the sprays that they use on the grains, then the asthma almost disappears immediately. Now, one of the things about the malathion, once you get it on the grain, there's no way to get it out of the grain. And then when you heat it, it turns into something about 100 times more toxic than malathion, which is called maloxin, M-A-A-L-O-X-E-N. Now, this maloxin is also highly detrimental to one's health. It's a deadly neurotoxin. It is an organophosphate, and here's where we get a lot of problems with the neurological factors that affect so many people. And so if you can get not white bread, but brown bread made with organic flour that has not been sprayed by malathion, you're going to be in good shape. But you have to check that very, very carefully as to where you get it. Any questions? I would like to also say that the organophosphates like paraquat, like your malathion, these are deadly to people because it destroys the immune system. And many people get cancer after they have been around the sprays of your malathion. Now, we can talk about Roundup. We can talk about all these other things which are deadly to people. And yet they're put out in the advertising as Roundup is perfectly safe and no problems. I have a stack of information this much, Hank, and I have to show that to you, on Roundup and the research that's been done on it, on how deadly this is to human beings. And yet everybody uses Roundup. Many of our patients, they come in and we check them out and find out what the problem is, and they're spraying Roundup all the time. They're wondering why they have asthma. They're wondering why they have different types of neurological problems. Fair enough?
Do they do the same with things like alfalfa seeds and mung beans?
Sir, I don't know. I know they do it to wheat.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know about the others. I would imagine that there might be some indication there of some sprays, but I know they do it to wheat. It's the law.
Yeah, I would get organic if you can.
Do you know anything about that?
It's just mentioned that we were talking about then, the alfalfa and mung beans.
The question of the audience was, do they spray the alfalfa and mung beans? And John and I don't know, but I would recommend getting organic seeds also.
You can buy it sprouted in the local shops. That's keeping health department.
He's saying that you can buy alfalfa sprouts at the supermarket.
You don't know whether...
I wouldn't know about the seeds. I wouldn't know about the seeds, but I don't think they would spray the sprouts at all because you wouldn't have to.
No, but I'm saying
No.
the original grain before they sprout.
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know about that.
Something missing.
Just one other thing about bread, be careful. Some of them are made with margarine. And sometimes you get a good organic bread and then you look and it's made with a margarine. So be careful with that. And also sometimes in some of these organic type things they put fruit juices, which disrupts the digestion. It causes a fermentation. So make sure it's not sweetened with a fruit juice because that's very bad food combining. Did you want to say something about that?
Bottom line on bread, if you check it out, make sure it's well bred.
Okay, we need to hand out the NutraSweet article. Do we have one on NutraSweet?
It's there.
Okay, Hank is handing that out and Greg is handing that out. Refrain from products which contain artificial sweeteners. This is very important. A lot of teenagers are going around drinking diet colas, which contain these artificial sweeteners. You'll find them in toothpaste, the artificial sweeteners. And what these do is they destroy short-term memory. So for instance, you walk into a room, you go, why did I come in here? Anybody ever do that? Okay, this is the destruction of the short-term memory by these chemicals in the artificial sweeteners. There's a whole list of other things they do as well. Do we have that to pass out? Okay. Can I have?
Take one here
Can we
too,
take
sir.
one here? I just wanted to know. Oh, thank you. If you look on the last page of this article, you'll see some of the side effects, major side effects, in aspartame reactors. All parts of the body are affected: eye, ear, neurological, psychological, chest, gastrointestinal, skin and allergies, endocrine, metabolic, and other. So you might want to look through that. If you're using any of these artificial sweeteners, just drop them out of your diet.
What should we use instead?
Well,
Sugar.
honey is very has a lot of antibiotic qualities, and it's a very natural type sweetener. But I would not use tons of sweeteners either, because this is what weakens the pancreas. Yes.
If it's worth anything, we've changed our tea. Like, you know, moved over to herbal tea, which
Yes.
seems to require that sort of sweetening, if I could put it that way.
Well, that's the other thing. Yes, if you switch from a black tea to a herbal tea, you're not going to need a sweetener in it. Like the fennel tea here, it really doesn't need a sweetener in it. So switching to the herbal teas.
Would a brown sugar be a good substitute for, say, white sugar?
A little better. We found one that muscle test strong, the rest muscle test weak, and it was a Demerara. Do you get that here? Demerara sugar? That one muscle test strong, the others all muscle test weak. So I would say that the sugars would all have a tremendous amount of chemicals on them too, because the sugarcane industry uses a lot of chemicals. So you'd be taking in a lot of chemicals, and which would then affect the immune system. Yeah. I'd get used to not having sweeteners, or occasionally use honey if you have to. Okay, next. Give up gradually all products that contain margarines. Now, a lot of pastries and cakes that you'll be getting from the bakeries or the stores, they all contain margarine. There's no, John and I were going down the aisle one day and we were checking out all the biscuits. We couldn't find not one biscuit
Yes, we did.
without one. We found one, farm bake shortbreads. Farm bake shortbreads were made with butter. Every single other biscuit was made with margarine. So you could check that out. Okay, give up gradually all products that contain white sugar.
That knocked out the shortbread.
Yeah, that knocked out the shortbread because that has white sugar in it and white flour. Okay. N, begin eating more fruit and veggies grown without chemicals and sprays. Okay, well, we've been talking about that, and I would encourage you to do that. A lot of people are coming up to me saying, Anita, they're too expensive. I can't afford it. Are you going to afford going to the hospital? Are you going to afford it when you've got toxins within your body causing cancers and other problems, and then you've got to deal with it twice? Don't wait till you have something wrong with you to decide to go organic. Support the organic growers. If we support the organic growers, they can produce more and then the prices will go down. But if we don't support them, then they don't have the market and they can't produce enough for us. Okay. Hank is passing out, he may want to talk about this because he knows more than I do, an organic place to get your vegetables. Now, I think they also deliver, don't they?
It's all on here.
It's all on there, what they can do. They deliver the vegetables and fruits to your house, so there's no excuse. You don't have a car, you don't want to take the bus, you don't want to walk. Anything you want to say about them?
Yeah, it's just that they have a minimum quantity that you have to order, and I think it's $25, and they will deliver it. And just give them a call and they let you know when they're coming. And it's good stuff because we've used it for the seminars, the intensives as well.
And I also went to the health food store called Macro in Bondi. Hank took me to the other day, and there was just a wealth of veggies and fruits there, and many other organic products they had. Yeah, so there's not a low supply. There is a great supply of these things available.
The only problem we seem to have now is with the supply of organically grown green pawpaws. They don't seem to come down to the Sydney area anymore because of everything is being usurped in Queensland and the northern part of New South Wales.
All our people eating pawpaw.
If it's possible to grow, to have your own tree, I would say grow it, because the pawpaw tree only takes about, I think, 9 months to grow. Six?
How long does it take the mama tree to grow?
Pardon me? What kind of tree?
The mama tree.
The pawpaw and the mama?
The pawpaw tree takes about 6 months to grow.
6 months, okay.
And you can get the seeds if you want some. I've got some at home because when we were at the instructor's course last, we were using the organically grown ones, and I dried out a whole bunch of seeds. And so if you like a few, what you do is just soak them for a couple of days and then put them in soil, preferably where you use the Mint Plus. And then you germinate it, keep it inside, especially with the cooler weather, and when it gets warmer you just put it outside. And according to Harold Titzi in his book on the medicine tree, mature green, or the pawpaw, we've got it over at the desk there. It is an extremely valuable product to use. And Greg has got it there, just show it there, Greg. Yeah.
None.
They're the same.
Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Are there different strains of papaya, please?
About 30 or 40 different strains.
So which
Yeah.
particular ones? Is it called the mature green pawpaw?
There are pawpaws that are ripe when they're green, and then there are pawpaws that are ripe when they're yellow, and then you have all shades in between. Now, depending upon the species that you have, you get it right before it turns ripe, but you can't depend upon the color. But what you do is you scratch the outside surface of the pawpaw or papaya, and it has this white milky sap coming out of it if it's green, if it's mature green, where it's just about ripe. But if you wait another few days, it turns from a mature green into a ripe papaya, and all the enzymes turn to sugar. And so you don't, in a ripe papaya, you will not have this white sap, which is your papain. Okay? But you'll have to test the various forms of pawpaw. Some of them are great big ones that they grow in the Philippines, and others a little mountain pawpaw like they grow in the lower temperatures. That comes out of South America. So you have all kinds of different kinds of pawpaw. Now, could I have the pawpaw leaf thing, the papaya thing? Pardon me? Not good? Not good? No, not good. You have to have, it's processed. They'll take your papain pharmaceutical grade, and that will start digesting at about 106 degrees Fahrenheit, rather than 98.6, which we have for human beings. Okay? And it's a lot of these different proteases that they have are at, after they have extracted it from the pawpaw, they're used at these, they're used for different processes, but not for human digestion. So these papain tablets that you get really aren't any good unless they are compressed at low temperatures from where it's freeze-dried, so at low temperatures from the mature green pawpaw. And we'll discuss that a little later on. But you all have that papaya handout. Now, I want to explain this to you. I want you to listen very carefully. Papaya is one of the most important fruits we have. You can grow it in this area. Now, one of the things that we have used is the, and I'm sure that you have this material on the pawpaw for cancer. Okay? We have used this for years. And we take the leaf of the papaya and we heat it with about 5 leaves with mature leaves with the stems. And what we do is we chop them up, put them into a stainless steel container, and heat it, boil it for about 3 to 4 hours. And then that brine that comes as a result of that, it's like a brine. That'll keep in refrigeration for about 5 days before it goes off. But you take about a pint, or shall we say a half a liter, or a liter a day. And for cancer patients, we have used this with all of our cancer patients, and along with the regular full program that we're dealing with, and they get well. Now, the problem that we've got here is that this gentleman here, by the name of Dr. Jerry McLaughlin from Purdue University, he discovered that this material, which is not named yet to my knowledge, if it's named, I haven't got that information yet, and if you run across it, let me have it, but it hasn't been named yet. But Jerry McLaughlin has been put on ice where he can't communicate anymore. But he put out enough communication to tell people that it was 1 million times more powerful as an anti-cancer agent than any other thing on the market at that time. And we have found that people who have had terminal cancer conditions, on top of the regular program that we work on, with this pawpaw leaves, which is an old Aboriginal remedy, this works, and we get the results we're looking for. Now, another thing in the pawpaw is the papain, which is a plant proteolytic enzyme, which when you saturate the body with this papain, it's like chymotrypsin from the pancreas. It will help to digest out the weakened tissue, which is cancerous. Weakened tissue, which is cancerous. Powerful, strong tissue does not become cancerous. But when it's deprived of oxygen, deprived of nutrients, or attacked with different chemical substances, then the cells weaken and can become cancerous. We'll go into that in greater detail when we get into iridology and also sclerology. Right here you have organically dried pawpaw leaves. And so here you have pawpaw leaves, but you make your drink out of that boiled for 4 hours. And even though it's dried at a low temperature where none of the essential ingredients are destroyed. And this particular brand, it's low temperature processed, and the material in there will give you the material that you need, and for the anti-cancer agent. Any questions, please?
I want to say one more thing on the pawpaw. I don't believe John said this, but maybe he did. When you have a lot of proteolytic enzyme in your body, your immune system becomes right. And this is what they found, that a strong immune system happens with a lot of proteolytic enzyme, and you will be getting that proteolytic enzyme from the green pawpaw in the blender that we talk about, taking that sap from the green pawpaw, cutting a piece of it, putting it in the blender with other fruits, mixing it up with some water and some other fruits, and then drinking that smoothie every day in the morning or whenever you want to get the proteolytic enzymes in the body.
I should have mentioned this earlier. I didn't. Dr. Leighton King from Maui, Hawaii did extensive research on proteolytic enzymes and found that when you take proteolytic enzymes into the body, it can increase the effectiveness of the immune system up as high as 2,000%. And so in dealing with the proteolytic enzymes, we make sure that in order to enhance the immune system and to help to digest out the weakened tissue, which would be cancerous or what they call the trophoblastic tissue, when that happens, that leaves and the cancerous substances are pretty well destroyed. Now that's important for all of you to know, because the proteolytic enzyme is essential for the immune system's enhancement. And that's one thing that we do need to consider. A lot more things we can talk about there, but this is enough for now.
And you can put avocado in that smoothie.
You put a story. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I don't care if you think I'm a kook, but I'm going to tell you a little story for what it's worth. This is me talking to you from heart to heart. When we lived in the Cook Islands, we had a beautiful little place where it was very quiet, and it was just, when we were not working, it was good for meditation. Now, I do my meditation my way. I think everyone does. But I'd go into my meditative state, and I would get, as many of you have read about, you get the white light, okay? But this time, the white light didn't disappear on me. Because in times past, when I focused on the white light goes, and I sit there, I focused to the fixation rather than to the inclusion of, and so I kept hitting myself because I focused on the white light leaves. I have to leave myself to the inclusion of all energies at that point of time. This time I kept my bearings, and I enjoyed that beautiful white light experience. Then suddenly, inside of that beautiful white light was this golden light came in. I thought, well, this has never happened to me before. What's happening now? I saw this beautiful golden light. And then inside of that golden light, I saw the most beautiful pawpaw tree. I said, a pawpaw tree in my meditation? Okay. I kept looking and just receiving it. And then this beautiful voice spoke and says, live where the pawpaw thrives for your physical salvation in years to come. Write that down. Because the pawpaw is one of the greatest salvations for all of us. Live where the pawpaw thrives for your temporal salvation for years to come. It is a perfect anti-cancer cure. It is a perfect source of the proteolytic enzymes. The pawpaw has more vitamin A than carrots, more vitamin C than oranges. The seeds have a tremendous amount of vitamin E in them. And the seeds themselves, in the research I've done with the papaya seeds, it is one of the greatest healers that we have. When you take the seeds, dry them up, grind them up, and make a tea out of it to soak injured parts of the body in that tea. It heals things very, very quickly. Now, so all of these things fit together. The pawpaw is the greatest source, I would say, of any vermifuge that I know of. Because you take the pawpaw seeds into your system, they'll kick out all of the intestinal parasites. The Amazon Indians, the only thing they carry with them when they travel is a little pouch of pawpaw seeds to take care of the intestinal parasites. And they eat those on a regular basis to make sure that there's no parasites where they go, because you have that in the jungle area. Now, so this is just something I want to share with you. But I never forget that on the pawpaws.
Yeah.
Because live where the pawpaw thrives for your temporal salvation in years to come.
Is that pawpaw seeds from any variety of pawpaw?
Any variety. They all work beautifully. And there's different types of pawpaw. There's the baraka, which is also a pawpaw tree, which has all the papain in the sap of the thing. And the fruit is just delicious. It's a long, skinny one. And so you have all kinds of pawpaw, but they all work. The mountain pawpaw from New Zealand works well. Haven't seen those here. But it'll work in very cold temperatures. Tony, you have something, sir. Okay.
I want to say something more. There's only one caution about the pawpaw, and that is for women that want to get pregnant, because the pawpaw seeds and the proteolytic enzymes in the pawpaw can act as a natural abortive. And so if you're in a relationship and you want to get pregnant, don't be having your pawpaw smoothie with the seeds every morning.
In Sri Lanka and India, the women who do not care to get pregnant make sure that pawpaw seeds is a regular part of their diet.
Okay, any more questions on the pawpaw before we move on? Yes.
Can you eat that with fruit and vegetables? Pawpaw, I mean, can you eat it as
Yes.
a salad?
I wouldn't combine the fruit and the veggies together.
Not a pawpaw salad.
But the pawpaw swings both ways like the pineapple.
Veggie salads with greens.
You're putting the pawpaw with the salad.
Yeah, like carrots and pawpaw, lettuce.
Okay, well, when you're taking enzymes, you can do that.
You don't have to do it.
You can do it with when you're taking enzymes, yeah. But the next thing that we have here is eat fruit alone and a half an hour before eating veggies and protein meals, because the fruits cause a fermentation within the stomach when you add it with another food. So,
Because the pawpaw was different.
well, in some societies they say that. I think the Thai food, they use a lot of pawpaw too, and they put it in the salad. I still do not mix it. You know how you can test it? If you have a salad and you eat the pawpaw and you get a lot of gas, then it's not mixing well. You start to get the bloating feeling, then you've combined the food improperly. Yeah. So try it on your body. I know some people have a greater tolerance with the food combining than others. And if you're taking the enzymes, everything's going to digest. Although I still try to food combine as much as possible, yeah, for greater digestion. Now, they're putting fruits in yogurts, which is very bad for the digestion, because the fruit digests very quickly, and then the yogurt, which is a protein, is going to take much longer to digest. So this combination of the fruit and the yogurt is going to cause a lot of fermentation in the system. And now I also read an article by one of the top Ayurvedic doctors, I think it was Vasant Lad, and he said that when you food combine so badly, the food gets deep into the tissues then. And then what we talk about later is it forms the mucoprotein.
It goes deep into the tissues.
It goes deep into the tissues, and he says also that it also drains the immune system.
When we get to the iridology, we'll show you how the mucoprotein moves deeper into the tissues in more advanced cases of pathological illness.
Yeah. So try food combining. They had a nice chart at the health food store I went to, the macro, which tells you how to combine the foods, because even some of the fruits, you'll find if you combine different fruits together, you'll still get a lot of gas. and bloating, whereas if you just use one fruit, say you eat 4 kiwi fruit instead of mixing the kiwi fruit with another one, that'll also aid in digesting it more easily. And this is what you want, complete digestion. Tony?
Yeah, can I just do a short rewind while it's fresh in my mind and declare something?
Yeah.
When you're talking about the papaya and clearing out the weaker cells,
Yes.
can this be directed like with people
On
with...
the page, Tony.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On the page. Out front.
Come up and...
I just really wanted to know, particularly in our culture, I guess there must be others, we inherit this particular cancerous thing, and therefore the papaya that you speak of can be used in order to try and prevent this right. We're talking about prevention, and we're talking about the hereditary of it, the genetic side of it. That's part of it, I guess.
People have a tendency for certain diseases to run in families. No question about that. There appears to be genetic problems which run down through the families, which is even more so. Let's talk about people that we have worked with that have had changes in their genetic structures. When you're able to bring up to full consciousness the traumas that the person has either experienced or inherited, and those things are created, shall we say, experienced on the mental level. We haven't got into this at all yet, we will tomorrow. But when this happens, Tony, you are able to overcome those genetic weaknesses which gives that predisposition to that particular problem. From the medical point of view, they're trying to heal from the outside in by putting in mutations or putting in other cells from other beings to help with a problem. Do you follow what I'm saying? Genetic research and so on. They're way off base. And I couldn't tell you how far the medical profession on trying to persist in this is off base, because you heal from the inside out by change of consciousness mentally. When the mind changes in the techniques that we have at our disposal with body electronics, then the morphogenetic field, which is determined by mind structure alone, that morphogenetic field changes, and that morphogenetic field is what controls the entire structure of matter itself. Okay? So you might say it's all in your head. Well, that's a simple cliche, which may have some truth in it, but very little practicality. Because you can tell a person the problems are all in their head, but how do you give them a pathway, which we will do, and which we have been doing, which will give them the pathway to go back to where they can correct it on the mental level. Because see here in the Logic and Sequence book, you've read this, and in there is one part of it, and the whole story is in there on how I came by it. It says that until man can experience on the mental level that which exists on the physical level, he will be bound to the physical. And so we go back and change all of that from the mind down. You cannot change it from the bottom up. Because if we do influence it from the bottom up, which we can with certain types of electronic medicine, we still haven't changed the consciousness of the individual. Okay? So we can manipulate energies and change things on the outer level, but if things are left to themselves and the consciousness hasn't changed, then the condition will reappear again. Because of the step-by-step, the consciousness determines the morphogenetic field, which determines the structure of matter. Are you with me on this? That's that simple. And therefore, this explains a whole lot of this other stuff, where we're down here looking at the pine cones under the tree, rather than realizing that huge tree is going to give houses for about 50 people. Many of us are looking at the pine cones. We're not looking at what that tree can do for humanity. A lot of people save the trees, you know, type of thing, so we might be punching buttons here. But nevertheless, it's the idea. Are we looking at the pine cones, or are we looking at what the tree can do? And it's just a matter of mental structuring on how we want to look at things, the small picture or the big picture. The big picture comes from the human mind. Did you hear another stomach growl?
Another
I
one.
heard I had about 3 stomach growls now. How many would like to go for lunch? Now. Okay. What time do we have?
It's 10 to quarter to 1.
About a quarter till 1. Usually what we do is we give about an hour and a half lunch break. So if it's a quarter to 1, we'll be back here roughly, or try to be back here by 2:15. And we'll continue on. We don't want to rush a lunch. We want you to eat and enjoy rather than push the food through like it is in every civilized society. Hurry, 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 hurry. Nonsense to that. Let's enjoy our lunch break. Fair enough?
So if I shouldn't have fruit with protein, I shouldn't put the grains and greens in my smoothie or